All right, bet. So it's recording now. So this is basically episode 3. I don't have a name, or we don't have a name set for whatever this is just yet, but we'll figure that out when the time comes. Jumping straight into things because we are working on the timer. I got a chance here, so we're gonna try to get through as much of this as possible. Um, Starting off with the draft, and I just want to before we even get into a topic, bro. Can you just tell me your thoughts leading up into the draft on what you know what I'm saying, what you was expecting, your general vibes of this year's draft versus other years, whatever the case may be. What was your thoughts on the draft leading up to it?
Leading up to the draft, I kind of thought it was going to be unconventional in some sort of way. Even before the draft even happened, man, we heard players coming out saying, this year I won't even be in attendance. Like I think this year was like a first time in a while, outside of obviously COVID,
Mm-hmm.
that we really didn't see a lot of the draftees even go there live in the
Mm-hmm.
moment. A lot of people just stayed at home and didn't even want to be a part of it. That alone, kind of had me. I knew some things weren't going to go as planned. Because I remember the previous episode we did like a little mock draft of how we thought all this stuff would go. Even after, and you said this in the last episode, you said it's going to be that one shocking trade that's made, or you're going to see that one team kind of pull a move that we don't really see coming, and that's exactly what happened. You seen who traded up? It was somebody that traded up in
The Browns traded up to get
you're right. The Browns traded up, and I think at that moment we, because the Browns took outside of Shador, their first round pick
they
was
took
up top of
damn, how am I forgetting? Hold on, I got you. Because first two picks was Travis and what's his name? And then
Cam
and yep, Cam. And then
Travis.
the Browns took Travis?
No, I'm sorry, the Browns didn't take Travis.
The Jags
The
took Travis, yeah.
The Jags took Travis. But yeah, that's what it was. Cleveland traded with the Browns, I believe.
Yep.
Um,
Cleveland traded with the Jaguars. That's what it
yeah,
was. Yep.
not the Browns, yeah, the
Yep.
Jaguars.
That's what it was.
But yeah, that was like that top 10 trade that you kind of saw coming, and that's exactly what happened. But Cam Ward, and then we thought maybe the Giants would have took a quarterback, but as we can see, their plans was to take the Abdul Carter.
Yep.
So that's what they went with. Players like New England taking Will Campbell, um, Ashton Genty going to the Raiders. I don't think we really saw that.
Mm-mm. Not
Just
me.
based on the last draft. So just looking at it, in the top 10 draft, we had 3 offensive tackles that went. I don't think neither one of us had that on our mock draft.
Nope.
So that's just like my takeaway for that. I think the easiest thing for us to harp on is the how Shador his draft stock like really plummeted
Mm-hmm.
throughout the draft. But I think it's a million different conspiracies on that alone. I seen one conspiracy online that said the draft was in Green Bay. Like I just told you, a lot of the draftees were not there
Mm-hmm.
live and in person.
Mm-hmm.
So the buzz around the internet is they milked this Shador Sanders saga as long as they could to keep people drawn to the TV. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because if you wait it out, it don't matter if it's 5 rounds. Everybody's gonna sit there and have a reason to stay there and watch for 6 straight rounds to see what his kid was gonna go. So um, I'm not sold on if that's the reason why he fell in the draft, but that is something to think about. I did see somebody put that idea out there that's probably why he fell in the draft. But um, just looking at just going back to your original questions, like my instant takeaway from the draft was there was that it was a lot of unpredictability that you may have when it comes to these first round mocks, and that's definitely what we saw in the first 10 rounds. Like the Saints taking the offensive tackle, man, at number 9, like
Insane work.
it's surprisingly, I didn't even see y'all take. I didn't even see y'all taking Loveland, Colston Loveland, at number 9. But we just have to see how it all goes, man.
I definitely unpredictable is like one way to put it. I guess the easiest way for me to look at it is like you made a great point with the viewership being maybe a leading contributing factor to how things played out or why things played out the way they did, because I saw this thing, this random stat on Instagram that was saying 13.6 million viewers. It was average viewers for round 1 of the 2025 NFL draft. Whereas for the entire 2024 NBA finals, the peak average viewers only hit 12.2 million. So for me,
Mm.
I mean, you think about something like that. Like we're talking about, you can't even, obviously the NBA finals is not touching the Super Bowl.
Right.
But for it to get beat out by the draft,
That draft,
you know
yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying?
telling.
It's one of those things where it's like, if I'm an NBA fan, I got to be thinking, what kind of magic is the NBA gonna try to pull this year to
Mm.
erase that stat? Because they know they can't give you nothing. In my opinion, when leagues see stuff like that, I think this is when they start kind of influencing each other on ways that the viewer doesn't pick up on. Because the NBA is not
Mm.
happy with that stat, which means the NBA has to milk whatever it can milk in these last couple of weeks of the NBA season to add that predictability factor or unpredictability factor to get more views. So I think the draft did just what the NFL wanted it to do, which was still
Mm.
remain or really raise its stock, because now I guarantee they're gonna run some narrative next season where we hear, is Arch Manning even going to come out this year? I think he's not going to announce his uh draft declaration until
Mm.
probably after the college football playoffs in January. That's about 3 months before the draft. So they'll milk that for a minute, and then I think they're going to milk his situation. I think they're going to use Shador as like, well, you saw what happened to Shador last year. You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of foreshadowing kind of how the draft can lead to. And if you remember, bro, I remember I had this conversation with you personally, where I
Mm.
was saying that the Super Bowl is damn near like WrestleMania, and
Mm.
everything
Yeah.
leading up into it is like the performance. It's almost like the TV show before the finale. And I think they have finally figured out we don't have to be as mundane as we would usually be, especially being in Green Bay. I heard that for the draft attendees there, they literally caught that flight, went right back home. There's not much to do, in
Yeah.
Wisconsin. So I think they definitely thought if we had to do something crazy, let this be the year. I don't know if I'm gonna say that's the reason I think Shador didn't get picked, but I'm not
Mm.
gonna argue you know what I'm saying, or anybody else if they were saying that that's the reason they think he didn't get picked. Because I think it works out in NFL favor. But sliding
Right.
into that topic, I don't want to bury the lead. What I mean, just the Shador situation from day one. We watched the first 2 picks happen. What were you thinking the minute you see pick 3 come in? Because he's guaranteed to go top 5 before the draft starts. So what did you think when you get into like pick 3, pick 4?
I think that's looking at it. I think we was looking at it, and me and you, we both knew it was only so many QB needy teams in the league and in the first round in general. So I think we only really saw it as like maybe 4, 5 tops,
Mm-hmm.
realistic places for him to go. Just looking at the top 5, I mean Tennessee.
Yep.
You could argue that he could have went there, but I mean, at least like the week leading up to the draft, the writing was on the wall that was Cam job, no matter what.
Yep.
Um, Number 2 is no reason for him to go to Jacksonville with Trevor there. Number 3, um, the Giants. It was a lot of rumblings around. Do the Giants even want him? And with him going there with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, it was kind of hard to see him there. So as I'm going down, I'm looking at, okay, the Giants need a quarterback. The Browns need one. The Raiders need one. Okay, the Saints need one. All 4 of those teams picked in the top 10, right?
Yep.
So I knew something was up after the Saints pick. I'm gonna be totally real with you because I said that. I said if he does fall, there's no way in hell the Saints should not. There's no way in hell they should lead the first round without taking him if he's still available at number 9. I remember I said that. So that I'm not gonna say it was top 3. That kind of like made me kind of question what was going on. After he went past the Saints, I was like, yeah, something up. Something is up. Something is up. Something is up. Something was up. And you keep going, you have a team like the Colts at number 14. That's when we was like, all right, man. All the QB needed teams are passing this dude up. Like, no way. No way. That's what highlighted it for me was once when he made it past number 9. That's what highlighted it for me. Because if you kept going, the better teams are obviously at the back end of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So you start looking at Bengals at 17,
Mm-hmm.
18, the Seahawks, they just gave all that money to Sam Darnold. You start looking at the Broncos, the Chargers, like that. None of that was realistic. So when I got to the second round, I was like, all right, maybe they kind of will use him as like a Jalen Hurts type prototype, which is, maybe he come in the same way Hurts came in as a second round pick, but they still had Wentz with the Eagles, and they kind of let Hurts come in on the back end of the season. I kind of thought like maybe he could go to somewhere like Arizona where they're close to moving on from that guy, but they don't want to completely give it up just yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, but once he started making it to the second round, the third round, I was like, yeah, something is up. This seems very unconventional. What's going on? And it really seemed like the league had it out. Like they put the word around, like, yeah, this guy can't come to this team. So it was deeper than just football to me. I think everybody see that.
You think that's how the conversation went? How you just said it?
Not how I said it, but I think I'm torn between two angles. I'm torn between on one side of me feel like that teams were afraid to draft him
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't want to hear Dion voice so much and have so much input on what's going on. So let's say you a team like the Titans, right? If you draft Shador number 1, you know Dion in some way, shape, or form is going to be he's going to voice his frustration. I mean, he the same one that said he don't want his son to go play outdoors in cold weather. He did say that. He did say that. So for this guy dad to be that outspoken, and you're an owner, you're a GM of a team, do you really want to do business with this draft prospect, knowing his father's going to be this outspoken about anything that has to do with his career? So part of me is saying that I don't think their teams really wanted to deal and had to deal with Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
Part of me is saying that I think that teams really thought this dude was full of himself, and I think they really wanted to humble this dude. Like some of the stuff they was reaching on, then it was some stuff where he went to the press conference and he was saying stuff like, "Y'all know who my dad is? We've been doubted our whole life. We saying that this is what we do." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's some GMs that they really didn't want no parts of this dude, and they really didn't know how he really would fit as a leader. Tom Brady, all this good stuff he said about
I know.
Shador. Why, Tom? You have all this power. You have your input on the Raiders organization. You mean to tell me when you finally have a chance to be vocal with the Raiders organization, who was your first pick as your quarterback of the future? You chose Geno Smith. You know what I mean? Like, so if you Tom Brady, why you didn't take a flyer on Shador? And you can relate to this. At you time, you was a 6th round pick. You were the dude that fell the 199th pick in the draft. You can relate to falling in the draft and having people overlook you. If you are such in defense, you have such a good relationship with Shador, why you didn't say, man, enough of this? Let's at least go get this kid in the 3rd round.
Mm.
Think about it. Tom Brady, all that power he supposedly got with the Raiders. Why he couldn't even pull this off?
And he's supposed to work with Shador since he was in high school.
See what I'm saying? So it's too many questions, not enough answers. So this it seems like a lot of sabotage going on,
Mm,
man. A lot of league interference and
mm,
some more shit that's going on,
mm.
man. Whispers and rumblings. So it was deep. It was deep.
I
It was
100%.
definitely.
I mean, I 100% agree with basically your thought process on it, or your thought process on it. Because once I saw that Saints pick come in, I mean, you can kind of give yourself that little leeway of thought where it's like, okay, maybe a team is gonna do something silly or something out of the ordinary and say, you know what, we'll take
Yeah.
you to our first round. Let's say, you know what I'm saying, situations where it's like the Colts. I don't know why in my mind I saw that Colts pick at 14, I think, and I was thinking like, damn, maybe they haven't,
Mm-hmm.
they little quarterback situation ain't really secure. That could be a team they maybe want to see what they can deal with in the next 3 to 4 years. So have Shador sit on a roster, maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas to myself. But I think once we got down to after Seattle's pick, or after the Steelers pick, that's what it was. When the Steelers picked Derek Harmon,
Yeah.
I kind of knew. I was like, okay. I'm not gonna lie to anybody on here though. After day one, I thought he was the day two pick. I thought he was gonna be day
Yeah.
two, Lamar Jackson. Y'all
Yeah.
passed up on him, you're gonna regret it. Because I think if it's day two, it's not it's still a headline, but it's not a conversation. You know what I'm saying? It might be like, damn, what did teams not see? What did they like? But when you start looking at the quarterbacks that got taken off the board above him, I think
Mm.
that's where the conversation is kind of like, no matter how you feel about him, his father, or the situation, or even the NFL, you gotta ask yourself, what would be the point of even giving opportunities to players that none of us had any care or any energy to watch play before a guy that had, I mean, damn near all of Colorado's games were televised this season. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And last year.
Yeah.
And this is a team that in the college football world, the year before, they were 1-11, I believe. So it's like, you got to ask yourself, did Dion not make the NFL a lot of money? That's my first question. Did Dion
Mm.
not make sports in general, playing with the Braves? You know what I'm saying? Even before Dion was there, the Braves in that 90s era was stepping into who the Braves are now, in a way, as far as history, as far as championship banners, all those things. So it's like Dion's been a part of a lot of major conversations in the sports world. I think
Um,
I think I agree with everything the media is saying if the Mannings don't exist. I think the Mannings are just too much of a glaring juxtaposition because Archie did not have this problem with his sons. He did not have this problem with both of them playing quarterback. Now, granted, they didn't come out the same year, but you got Eli who flat out stayed in college because he did not want to go to the draft to be drafted by the team he would have got drafted by his junior year. He still would have been a number one pick, but he said, I'm gonna sit in the college because I do not want to go. I forgot what team it was that him and his dad said he was not gonna play for.
was it the Chargers?
It might have been the Chargers. It might have been the Chargers. So you can see the NFL has played that game before. They played that royalty or legacy kind of storyline being brandished against them, against their own
Mm.
wishes, but they were fine when it was the Mannings. And both the Mannings got rings out of that controversy. They both got rings out of that, and they both stayed in college all 4 years. So Arch is on his third year. I just want everybody to know that. I know I've been screaming Arch, 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 but he is on his third year, and the Mannings are notorious for not leaving college early. So I do think it's one of those situations where I'm looking at Shador and I'm saying, whether or not you liked him or whether or not you didn't want Dion's voice in the mix, round 5 is insane. I just have to say it out loud. Like it has to be something that has to be said. Where round 5 is what did Russell Wilson get
Yeah.
drafted? Round 3? Am I tripping?
At the
Or was he?
latest.
Oh, he was late. He was round 7. Russell Wilson was round 7
No. I said he was round 3 at the
at the
latest.
latest. Okay, yeah.
Dak went like fourth round.
I don't see 5th round Shador, dog.
You see what I'm saying? Like
I just can't even
Dak,
dream it. I can't even dream it, bro. 5th round, like you saying basically your dad is that much of an issue to me that I'd rather lose games and do this whole process 2 to 3 more times before even putting a chance on you. I don't know. The disrespect to me was like It definitely is personal. I'll say that. It's personal. I think it's something between the two parties, which is the NFL and the Sanders family. I think it is something
Yeah.
personal there. Maybe something that we don't know about because remember, Dion didn't go to the NFL. And I know people want to make it seem like he had this dream of staying at Colorado. I don't think he did. I just don't think he got the conversations he wanted to professionally. And we'll
Yeah,
probably
cause
see
yeah,
that.
cause cause that's common sense. Cause we know if Jared would have gave him the reins, he
Oh
would have
yeah,
took
it'd been
that
over with.
that Cowboys job.
Over
Like,
with. Yeah.
yeah. So it's
That
definitely because he felt like he wasn't going to get the package that he knew he can get in college in
mm-hmm.
the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that.
60
He
million.
he knew that.
60 million he got in Boulder. $60
Yeah.
million deal. So it's like if you're an NFL team, yeah, he'll take you, but you know what that package means. That package means he's getting both his sons on that team again. So it's like
Yeah.
then I understand the NFL barring the restriction because you
Mm.
trying to come run a program is a little different than you saying I want my son to have opportunity that everybody else got. That you know what I'm saying? It's two different things we talking about here. And I'm gonna end it there. I don't want to be too long winded on it. I did want to ask you though. Speaking of that, do you think
Mm.
Jerry Jones would have pulled the trigger on Shador if the league didn't put the stop order out? Like nobody touch him. You think Jerry Jones would have picked him up? They went O lineman at
Man,
12.
it's tough because I think this because I know a part of you you have you have put out the idea that Jerry um he can move on from Dak and possibly take a swing on somebody like Arch in the draft. Where I'm at with Dak Prescott is I think that, and let me pull it up for just to be accurate here, because okay, so Dak Prescott is signed to Dallas until 2028.
Mm.
That contract is 4 years, $240 million. 231 mil is guaranteed money. So for anybody that knows how contract works, how kind of contract breakdowns work in the NFL, Dak Prescott for 2025 has a $50 million cap hit. If they want to move on from Dak after next year, they would have to eat $180 million. 2026, his cap hit is $74 million. If they want to move on from that contract, they would have to take on $129 million of dead money.
Mm.
2027, he have a $68 million cap hit. His dead money that year will be $55 million. Looking at the breakdown of this contract, they're not realistically able to move on from this man until 2028. So just to answer your question, can I see Jerry Jones drafting Shador and having that man sit on his bench for 3 years? Like, you gotta ask yourself, like, honestly, what is the point in it? Because what really can you do with Shador? Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want Shador to get on that field and look good under any stretch of imagination, because then you're going to put Dak on your bench making over $60 million. That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, I just want people to see how contract breakdowns work. So I think Jared Jones really tied himself in a box. I don't know what his plan is with Dak, but man, if I just really want people to understand how NFL contracts work. Based on the numbers, he cannot move on from Dak until 2027 at the earliest. I promise you. I promise you this. Just look at the breakdown of his contract. So, to the best of my knowledge, you stuck with Dak. I knew it when they gave Dak that contract at the start of last season. He was tying himself to Dak to 3 years at the latest. I guarantee you that. He cannot get out of that Dak. Dak is not Aaron Rodgers. And you see how hard it was for them, the Packers, to move on from Aaron Rodgers. It was only one team that was willing, because Aaron Rodgers had a $99 million cap hit. It was only one team that was stupid enough to eat that contract with the Packers. and that was the Jets. If it wasn't from that, Aaron Rodgers wasn't going nowhere. So if you Dak, who in their right mind about to eat half of that contract just to even entertain a trade for him? It's not realistic at all. It's not. It's not plausible. It's not happening. So he's not. I think that's what do Jerry is tying himself to. Honestly,
I
man.
see what you're saying, and I definitely think everything you're saying makes sense. But I think Cowboys go quarterback first round next year.
So I'm not sure who the class would be next year outside of Arch. So your initial prediction would be that Arch is the guy that they would try to do business with, or would it be someone else you have in mind that they go quarterback with?
I think when it comes to a Manning,
Okay.
I'm looking at Arch, and I guess I need to be clear about this because I think that's going to help both of us and everybody else understand where I'm coming from. But I'm looking at Arch more so as the biggest opportunity the NFL has had promotional wise in the last 5 years. Joe Burrow damn near would have been what I think Arch is going to be. And I think Joe Burrow, had it not been for that injury, was promised a lot of things. And I think
Which one? Because he
the
had the ACL his first year, then he had the hand injury
I
that
think it was the
happened 2
ACL
years ago.
injury. I think
Okay.
him going, I'm gonna be real. I really feel like the NFL is very I guess the best way to put it is just very business first. So when they see a chance for that investment and that return on investment to not kind of be there for any reason, I think you got to cut your losses. And I think Joe's going to learn a hard lesson with the loyalty conversation because I think him being so tied to that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins situation did not scream positive for the NFL. I know people are overlooking that, but I don't think the NFL like that. I don't think the NFL like being strong arms by a quarterback you can't release. You can't. No one in their right mind on God's green earth was going to release Joe Burrow or trade him or anything. So he's an unmovable piece. And now he's
Right.
saying to the ownership and to the GM and to the coaches, I want my guys here. If you and your guys had 2 or 3 titles behind you, we could have that conversation maybe on, a different type of, okay, I see what you're saying. But for you to damn near stick up an organization and say, I need both of these guys and myself paid, but none of us is taking pay cuts. Nah, that's not going to be something the NFL is rewarding, in my opinion. And I think
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
I agree with that. I was gonna say I agree with that, and I didn't necessarily look at it as in the way that you're illustrating it. I just looked at it in a way of because I understand the argument that you're putting it in as if they once looked at him as an investment, but now they're kind of trying to pivot away from him, if that kind of makes sense. So I see the argument that you're making for it. I always looked at it as maybe his ass is just gonna be the Drew Brees of this era, which is we gonna let you take all the money. We gonna let you be so offensive so oriented. But nigga, you not winning no rings. You can throw for 5,000 yards, but you gonna go 9-8 and miss out on the playoffs. You are in arguably the most competitive division in football. You see what I'm saying? So I think they fine with that, man. And like I always say, when it comes to players that get to the Super Bowl and lose, what I always say, it's so hard to get back. It's so hard to get back to the Super Bowl after you lose your first one. The only one we've seen do that in the last 30 years is Hurts. And his GM built a roster unlike any other we have seen. Burrow, your front office is not doing it. So I think they're perfectly content on letting Joe Burrow keep asses in seats, keep putting up his superstar
Yep.
numbers, and that's all it is,
Yep.
man. That's all it is, man. But if they ever did have a focus on him for being like in like that Mahomes category of winning rings and like being a household name, like you said, he could have been from the start. I think, nah, nah, nah.
I'm gonna be real with you. I thought going into it, Joe Burrow was gonna be Joe Namath part 2. I thought he was gonna get a Super Bowl
Mm.
at least one time in his career. Thought he was gonna get an MVP, and I thought he was gonna be the face of football for X amount of time. It almost seemed like him replacing. It almost seemed like the replacement for Brady was perfect, like almost like to a T. Like they drew it up on a I don't know, an imaginary board, and it came to life. But I think I'm telling you, I really mean this with all my heart, man. I don't think they saw the realities of when you give a guy his player. So when you give your rookie quarterback, when you give him his guy that next year, that's the issue. And if I'm a GM, I'm being real with you. If I'm a GM, I would never do it, because I do think there is some type of professionalism that comes with adaptability. There's some professionalism that comes with, as far as the NFL is concerned, with you being able to be put in a situation where adversity doesn't overcome you, and you don't have to. You can get a Justin. In my opinion, how much different would this look if this was Justin Jefferson we talking about? If Justin Jefferson didn't have the connection that he had, or if Joe Burrow didn't have the connection he had with Jefferson, I'm looking at it from a GM's perspective of, I got two right. I got the wide receiver and the quarterback right. Joe Burrow is looking at it like, I told you to get my guy, you got him. Now I'm telling you to pay my guy, you're gonna pay him. You see how the NFL can, you know what I mean? And I think it's a thin line that I think a lot of people are gonna ignore, or maybe say I'm being too anal about. But I really do think, just knowing the NFL's tendencies when it comes to player relationships, Rodgers didn't get to keep Devontae. And I think him not being able to keep Devontae after winning a ring, but Joe Burrow gets to keep both of his receivers after a Super Bowl appearance. He don't have an MVP. This ain't Lamar Jackson we talking about. This ain't Josh Allen we talk. Josh didn't get to keep Stephon. And not saying he wanted to keep Stephon Diggs, but he just didn't. I don't know what the situation was behind the scenes, but quarterbacks typically do not get to keep their receivers for that second contract. It just does not happen. Now, I know, as far as the NFL is concerned, that tandem does bring in viewership. I'm pretty sure Cincinnati has had a big viewership increase, and their market has increased since those two have been together. But you know as well as I know, bro, like you can replace a receiver. We talked about this last episode. You don't pay receivers. You can replace a receiver. And the fact of the matter is, the Bengals being in that division just goes to show, like you said last episode, Joe Burrow is going to be one of those quarterbacks that they accolade up and they pay right. But they are not going to give him success. It's just not going to be. And they're not going to give him NFL marketability as well. I think we're going to see over the next 5 years, Joe Burrow takes a Matthew Stafford type route where he is going to be a really amazing quarterback. The type of quarterback that you kind of paint the quarterback position after. But we are not going to market him. We're going to have the arch of the situation. This is where I think Arch comes in, because I think, and I don't want to tie too much of this into like a racial conversation or anything like that, but I think Arch fits a mold that the NFL has been trying to recreate for a long time, and he gets the Manning name. And I'm gonna ask you, as a Packers fan, I'm a Bears fan. In your opinion, what is the biggest NFL football team marketable wise that there is?
I'm gonna just go with the biggest brand.
Yep, biggest
and who
brand.
has the most fans in the league. I think the easiest thing to say, because I know people that don't even watch football. I could show them the Cowboys 5-star, their logo.
That's it.
They know that's Dallas Cowboys right there.
And
you know what I mean?
Where's Arch playing right now? In Texas Longhorns. I'm telling you that this plan, and I'm not saying it as in, oh, he's gonna get drafted because he's playing in the same state. I'm saying Texas Longhorns is arguably the biggest college football, when they're winning, market there is. It don't get bigger than Texas. States cannot compete with the state of Texas when it comes to marketability, when they believe in a team or a program. LA can't beat them. Boston can't beat them. New York can't beat them. Texas, when it comes to sports and when they're winning, depending on the situation for the marketability, Jerry Jones sniffing the air right now, I think, is dreaming of the moment he gets to pair Arch with the coach of his choosing and restart that dynasty. Arch, in my opinion, he's a bigger Manning. I think he's 6'4" or 6'6", I believe. One of the two.
Yeah.
He's mobile now, so now you're calling his grandfather's name because you can see a lot of mobility in him. I really think he's going to be the rival to Lamar Jackson. And when I say Lamar Jackson, I need everybody listening to know I'm talking about marketability. I think Lamar Jackson is a quarterback that the NFL has tried to hide under the radar in terms of promotion because they don't give him no brand deals. He's not getting a ton of spotlight when it comes to storylines and things of that nature. You mentioned the thing with his agent being an issue, him being one of those quarterbacks. I agree with you on that. And I think all of that ties into them not promoting your 11 plus win every season quarterback. I think that's a big thing we not having a conversation with is how is Lamar Jackson not the face of the league? We know him, but in my opinion, I think Joe Burrow gets just as much clout as Lamar Jackson does with nowhere near the accolades as far as the longevity from how long he's been in the league, how long he's been able to be healthy, and what happens when he's on the field versus when the Ravens don't have him. You get what I'm saying?
I got 2 points for you. Okay. As it pertains to Burrow, like you said, he hasn't done he don't have the body of work that Lamar Jackson have. Obviously. He went to the Super Bowl. Burrow went to the Super Bowl in the second year. He faced Mahomes in the AFC Championship that year. Mahomes was up 21-3 on Burrow. And then the Bengals came all the way back in the second half. That was actually Tyreek Hill last game in KC, by the way. That was in the 2021-2022 season. We're about to be in 2025. That playoff win is what's keeping Joe Burrow legacy alive to me because he hasn't had a win that has come close to that since then. And that was 3 years ago. So what I'm basically trying to say is that the media is hanging on so much to that dated Joe Burrow playoff game that he won against Mahomes 3-4 years ago. To me. And the fact that you are speaking that out and making that sound alarming, I mean, it is alarming, but I don't know nobody else who is still, I don't know nobody else who legacy we're still holding on to from 3 to 4 years ago, and he hasn't done anything since then. That's fact number one. Fact number two is the only times that Joe Burrow has made it to the playoffs was the 2 seasons that Lamar Jackson got hurt. Whenever Lamar is healthy, Joe Burrow has never got to the NFL playoffs. That's a trend right there. Just think about it. Joe Burrow went to the playoffs 2 years out of his maybe 5-year career. Only 2 of those years that he made it, that was the 2 years that Lamar Jackson got hurt. He hasn't been able to make it to the playoffs if Lamar is healthy. So that's something we got to talk about, man. That's something we got to talk about.
If you the NFL and you hearing that type of conversation, what do you attribute to be the reason behind that? Just in your opinion, what do you think is the reason behind that? As far as them parading Joe Burrow off of that season, a season of which after that game, he lost. So I'm trying to figure out from that point being, where is the marketability in a loser? And I'm not saying that Joe Burrow's a loser, but where is the marketability in a loser? Because Josh Allen is a great juxtaposition to this conversation. Because I think that I remember watching the pod over last episode, and I was thinking about this one quote in particular where I was talking about Josh Allen kind of knowing where he is in this hierarchy of quarterbacks. And I feel like when you have a season that Josh Allen had last year, and I think Bills fans know this or can attest to this better than anybody, I don't think anybody has ever seen him play football the way he played. I'm talking about both ways, on the ground and in the air, and still not be able to beat Patrick Mahomes. That's a conversation right now. The NFL has to tell me how Joe Burrow gets to have that type of clout surrounding his name. And I know recency bias is a big deal because that 2020 LSU season is still added into those remnants of his name. But Josh Allen, in my opinion, I mean, when did we stop talking about Josh Allen as being I guess my biggest thing is, where do you allow guys that do not win games on an every year basis to be faces of your league? I just want to know where that's done at.
I it's tough, but I feel like the only reasonable justification for that is when we think about it, and to answer your question, why you may feel like they are putting Burrow on the same arc as Allen, even though the body of work isn't equivalent based on what we were watching, we're seeing more from Allen. We're seeing more from Lamar than we're seeing from Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the NFL wanna outline it to us from the perspective of we seen Allen lose to Mahomes 4 times in a row. Regardless of how we feel about Burrow, we at least seen Burrow split with Mahomes in the playoffs. They only matched up twice in the playoffs. It was the one time where Burrow made the comeback and then he got to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And the other time he played Mahomes was when the guy tackled Mahomes out of bounds. Mahomes had the bad ankle, and they kicked the field goal and got to the Super Bowl. That's when they faced the Eagles the first time, like 2 to 3 years ago. So I think the NFL is trying to tell us, like, we view Mahomes v. Here's what I'll say. I think they view Mahomes v. Burrow as that Manning and Brady rivalry. Because you got to think about it. We still ain't even we throw that out every single year. But what really is the Manning versus Brady of this era? Just think about it. We really don't have a concise
and you're
answer
not
on
gonna hold out for Arch though. You're not gonna hold out for the real Manning coming up.
That's why it's about to tie all together. There's a reason why we don't really have that. It's the reason why it's not solidified. Every single year is Lamar versus Mahomes. Is that the new Brady Burrow? I mean, is that the new Brady Manning? Is it? At one point, they thought it was going to be Watson versus Mahomes because Watson and Mahomes came to league the same year. We seen that shit then pan out. So maybe it is. Maybe it is Manning versus Mahomes. Maybe that is the rivalry that they keeping us in store for. But we do got to keep that in mind. It has to be a Manning versus Brady of this era. And common sense would be to bring in Arch Manning and bring in to play the Brady of this era, which is Mahomes. That will easily make it a Brady versus Manning 2.0. So, but I did want to make sure I included that to the conversation. It has to be a Brady versus Manning for this era. And I don't think we have that answer yet.
We really, damn, that's such a good point too, because I'm thinking about as you were saying that, all I kept thinking was, but I'm putting him with so many NFC teams. I'm like, damn, I've been tying Arch's name to only NFC teams. I put Saints, I put Cardinals, and I put Cowboys. And I'm thinking like, damn, it for it to be that what you're describing, he has to go to the AFC. And I'm thinking right now, I mean, AFC teams kind of have filled their rosters with talent on the QB position. So I'm trying to figure out, just off the top of my head, like who would be in the AFC front running next season that we could really have this conversation about.
To get him or?
To get him, because I can't think of too many AFC teams off the top of my head that need a quarterback right now.
I mean, the Colts, because can we really say where that sold on Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson? So, and I mean that will be full circle to send him to the team that Peyton Manning played for. Which is why
I don't know, bro. I don't know if they would do that.
But I was gonna say the same thing, man. That Derek Carr retirement today, bro. Dude, that's the first thing I thought of once I saw the news he retired. Arch Manning like literally popped up in my head, man. It literally popped up in my head. And this is not. And think about it, he retired. So in some way they get that money back from that contract in some way. You know what I mean?
They free.
So they went from being stuck to financial freedom like that. So
I think they knew, bro. I'm gonna be dead ass honest with you. I really feel like the Saints and the Carr family had that conversation before the draft.
Probably so.
Definitely no way, because why you get Tyler Show? And I know that's our
Yeah.
next topic, and we can slide into that. But why get Tyler Show? If you don't know that your quarterback's
Mm.
gonna retire, why did you draft him? Second, that's their first pick of the second round. Remember, Giants trade up into the first round again to grab Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
First team to go get a quarterback again is the Saints.
Damn, I forgot the Giants that got Jackson.
They got
Damn.
Jackson. They traded up to get him.
So they had 2 first-round
They
picks.
had
They
two
got
first rounds. Yep.
Abdul and Jackson.
And apparently Jackson
Man,
Dart is Daboll's pick, not the GM.
I would believe that. I definitely I'm believing that because he been there so long. He been there so long as an offensive minded coach. He has never had his choice of quarterback
Literally.
because he inherited Daniel Jones.
He on his Nagy
So
season. I promise. This is his
yeah,
20
yeah,
what year Justin came in the league? This is 20 I think.
2021, 2021.
21. So this is his Nagy season. This is the season where he picked the quarterback. Well, damn near in reverse. He gonna pick the quarterback he want, but I still think he get fired at the end of this year.
So because the thing is with because I remember how it went down with Nagy. He didn't want to rush Justin on the field. But I think Justin ended up starting like after like the 4th or 5th game, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I always thought in the back of my head, like Nagy knew soon as Justin get on that field, that's when the clock starts on him.
Yep, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I'm tying this all in to say that how long do you think Dayball would take put Jackson on the field? Because right now, you know, in his back pocket, he got Russell Wilson and Jameis. So how long do you think it takes until he put that man on the field? And you know the GM is going to want to see your new project because you in the same division as Jaden, Hurts, Dak. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the people going to want to see eventually him put Jackson Dart on the field, man. I just don't know when.
I think Jameis is a placeholder name. I don't think Jameis is a depth chart quarterback. I think Jameis
Okay.
is I think Jameis is the definition of a player that you grab when you need um positive distraction / reception for your team. You get a Jameis Winston because you can start the season off 2-2. Jameis Winston being there means that the 2 games you won, he probably got clipped 1,000 different ways doing 1,000 different things to boost those wins. So the fan base is kind of more appreciative of his presence on the team. You get what I'm saying? But it's really
Yeah.
just a blanket for the losses. I think the Giants know, just like the rest of us should know. I think if you're a Giants fan and you truly think the Giants are headed for anything other than an immediate rebuild, I don't know what else to tell you. I think the Giants are on the precipice of being, in a weird way, a new top 3 team. I think the Giants are gonna slide down the corridor and find themselves in the Detroit Lions position. And I think, or something like a Minnesota Vikings position, for at least for the next 2 to 3. Because I think me and you both know, with Mahomes taking a back seat in his career for these next couple of years, they're looking for new blood. And I think they're looking for new blood in a lot of different ways. And I think they now have a conference full of championship contenders. That's the AFC. And then they have a conference full of young, raw talent in the NFC. And they're trying, I mean, because you got Caleb, you got Jaden, you got damn near leading the pack of I don't want to say veterans, but Jordan Love damn near is leading the pack of best quarterbacks in the NFC from a veteran perspective. Just about how long he's been in the year. I mean, how many years he's been in the league. I'm putting
I think
Stafford. Go ahead.
outside of Stafford, I think Kyler is probably the oldest NFC
You
quarterback,
get what I'm
starting
saying?
quarterback,
You get what
and
I'm
that's
saying?
2019.
Rotating door. It's been a rotating door. We
Or
can't.
Baker. But yeah, like it's like most of the dudes in the NFC is like 7-year starters at the oldest.
Me
So
and you was having this conversation in 2022 about what the NFC was turning into and how they were allowing the AFC to stack the table or stack the cards against the NFC in that discussion. I'm a
yeah,
slide back.
because
Yeah, go ahead. Before I slide back, what you about to say?
I was about to say because it was very obvious what the league was doing because you sent Rodgers and Russell Wilson to the AFC,
Mm-hmm.
two older quarterbacks. Breeze retired, Tom Brady retired. So yeah, it was very obvious, man. It was very obvious. All the veteran quarterbacks went to the AFC.
And
All of them.
and to put it into perspective, to answer your question, where do I see Jackson Dart coming in as far as the Dabo situation? I think Russell Wilson or Jameis go down with an injury, and I think they have to go down with an
Mm.
injury the same way. I never seen a quarterback situation I feel like as awkward as that Steelers situation they had last year. And I think Russell Wilson is a big part of that conversation for why it was so awkward. And the one thing I
Yeah.
put together was I don't think Russell has the confidence that we have in Russell. And I think it really starts to show after about 2 games into the season. Because what ends up happening is, and this is just what I saw from him the last couple of years in Seattle and then this last season, I think he has a big challenge with dealing with defeat. And I know that sounds very generic, but I want everybody to really think about what I'm trying to say, which is he does not deal well, especially at this point in his career, because in his defense, who would? Being an aging quarterback, everywhere you go, there's a young guy waiting to take your fucking seat. There's a young guy waiting to take your lunch. Ever since he's left Seattle, in the looming background has always been, if you fuck up, we're putting this guy in. You feel what I'm saying? And I think giving him that situation again, he's gonna try to go do or die on the field this season. And I think a Tua type situation may occur. And I don't wish this on him, but I could see that kind of happening. And that means Jackson Dart starts before the trade deadline. That's my prediction.
Uh, I'm not gonna disagree with that at all. I mean, because honestly, it's not hard to see why he may get placed on the bench. I mean, they don't have a great offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't have a great running game.
Mm-mm.
Outside of Malik Neighbors, there's still question marks on the receiving targets out there. So, I mean, there's not a lot in place that can really be set up to make him look good. If anything, it's a lot of things out there that, you know what I mean? It's a lot of reasons for him to get his ass sent to the bench, if that makes sense.
Just like Denver.
Just like Denver. But in the back of my head, the only way that I can see Russell Wilson standing in the lineup is if Dayball is trying to avoid that clock being set. You know what I mean? Because if you Dayball, do you really want to go out there and expose that dude Jackson to all this disarray? Do you really want to just throw him to the wolves out there? Because that offensive line is not good, man. That offensive line
They
is
defense
terrible.
is not that good, Chance. They defense is not good.
Well, yeah, I didn't even want to touch on that, but like, there's a lot of holes to say the least. There's a lot of holes that they didn't get to plug in just one draft. I'm not sure what their money is looking like next year. Maybe they can go on a spending spree. They probably will because they won't be paying anybody to the best of my knowledge. But
They home games next year are Dallas, Philly, obviously Washington, y'all, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Minnesota, and San Francisco. And I say Los Angeles Chargers. That's their home games. I think the league knew exactly what the fuck they was doing. I'm being real with you. I think the GM, how the GM didn't get fired after the Saquon situation is mind-boggling. But for you to allow Dable to go in there and say, okay, I'm gonna get my guy on a year where you kind of know if y'all don't win this year, somebody has to go. You let him go get his guy now. I don't know, bro. I think that's a typical recipe for disaster when people are scared to lose their jobs. They're playing with fear. I think they drafted in fear, and I think they're moving off of fear. I think they was too scared that Shador Sanders was going to be a headache. That I think they was too scared that Deion Sanders was going to be a headache, and they said we're not going to do it. So they went with their best. I mean, they next best option, which was their worst opinion, and getting Jackson Dart and trading up for him. Remember, they were so desperate, Chance, in that moment that they didn't want to lose out on this man being a quarterback. So they said, I'm going to trade into the first round, pick 25, just to get our guy. When you make a move like that, you get fired when that don't pan out. And I think Russell Wilson, if he starts off the season 0-3, yeah, we having a serious conversation. Or if he starts off the season 1-3, there's a chant at every New York Giants game that says start Jackson now, probably by week 3.
So let me ask you this. Just in a vacuum, like, what do you really see as the Giants ceiling this year? Like, how do you think this year will even turn out for them?
They do maybe 2 games either better. I see them being 2 to 3 games removed from Dallas. They either do 2 games better than Dallas or they do 2 games worse than Dallas. And them and Dallas go 3rd and 4th. I think that has to be what happens. I think if Philly tanks this season, remember, we just said there's not that much stock in the NFC. So you can't really move pieces around. Your powerhouses have to still be your powerhouses. Just like I know the Rams still have to finish at least a playoff caliber team. There's too much money tied into their marketability in the NFC. If I'm looking at the Giants, you just got yourself a quarterback that you and I both know is not going to be able to survive that media. And I think that's just the biggest. I mean, I don't know if anybody has watched any film on Jackson Dart. I like Jackson Dart as a quarterback in terms of intangibles, but would I have ever drafted him before round 3? No, hell no. And the fact that they reached to grab him, remember, this is the team, the Bears are the team that went to go grab Trubisky, pick 3. A guy that went 7-5 in college as a whole, his whole career in college, he played 1 season. And we drafted him pick 3. So I think when teams make this leap and they try to do something to not lose their job, you end up losing your job. That's just my opinion. I think Dabble goes to be on Andy Reid or somebody's coordinator position for the next 2 to 3 years and then gets another chance at a head coach position. There's no way he wins this. Unless the GM takes the fall, there's no way he wins this. It's not possible to me. That defense is too shaky. Especially the secondary. The secondary is garbage. My bad. Go ahead.
So if they do move on from the GM and let Daboll stay, do you foresee that as a problem, or do you see it as the wrong decision for them to make?
Yeah, I think GM and coach have to go same year. Your GM has let literally everything that you have worked for as an organization during the Eli years. Your GM has damn near worked for your competitors. You see what I'm saying? And the Eagles thing is just an obvious glance at it. Underneath the surface, I don't think the Giants have made a let me ask you this. When's the last time you liked something the Giants did? Just as a sports fan in the NFL, when's the last time you saw the Giants make a move that you approved of?
Mm-hmm.
They started Tommy DeVito 4 games last year, 3 games last year.
The Giants, I mean, to me, the Giants, because they don't really spend money like that. When they do spend money, they spending money on people like Darius Slayton, Kenny Galladay. You see what I'm saying? Like receivers like that. You offering the bag too. But you don't really see them bringing in defensive help, signing anybody on the defensive side of the ball. I think they tried, and it's how you know certain teams live and die by their philosophy, because they keep banking on trying to find that next Lawrence Taylor. Didn't they just draft Kayvon Thibodeau a couple of years ago?
About 3-4 years ago. 3 years ago maybe.
Yeah, like and now you just spent another top 5 pick on Abdul Carter.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna put no ceiling on Abdul, but like in a 3-year span, you spent a top 5 pick twice on interior pass rushers or just a front 7 pass rusher. So, and the fact that you said the defense was so atrocious last year, and you had Kevon Thibodeau out, they didn't even, I don't think they picked up Thibodeau 5th-year option, man.
Mm-mm.
Honestly. And you just drafted this dude in the first round. Why, like Dexter Lawrence, how often do we even call this man's name on Sunday? Where is he at? So they haven't made, man, man, I haven't been impressed by the Giants' decisions probably since they was able to get Jason Pierre-Paul and Justin Tuck on the same like going back a long time ago.
The Eli
like
years.
Yeah. But since then, and they knew GM, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. I think
What's his name? Scheibin, I think.
Yeah, Cheyenne Showing, something like that. He came in 2022, which was the same year Dayball came in. So they married that GM and head coach the same year.
And it's time to divorce them motherfuckers the same year. It's time.
Because that first year they came in, they won they went 9-8.
And he won coach of the year.
Yep. And then 2023, they went 6-11. And this past season they went 3-14. So it's been a steady decline since that first season. So this year would tell a lot, man. This will be his 4th season in New York, man. So you gotta at least win more. You gotta at least get to 9 wins. Just think about it.
That ain't happening. No, not
because
nine.
just think about it. Like I'm not saying he gonna do this, but if you are a person that's cutting a paycheck to Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, you gotta be looking at them saying, man, we gotta get 9 wins. Think about it, G. Their first year in New York was 2022. Look who's in their division. That same year, they went 9-7. They finished number 3. The Cowboys went 12-5. The Eagles went 14-3. You had 2 teams in your division that won 12 or more games, and you still got your 9 wins. So they looking at it like, how is that your first year here? You arguably played in the most competitive division that season, and you got your 9 wins and got us to the playoffs, and you won a playoff game because they beat Kirk Cousins in the wild card. So they looking at it, how has it been a steady decline since y'all 2 niggas have been here? There's no way that owner is sitting there thinking that anything less than 9 wins is acceptable. You just seen Jaden Daniels come in with a new head coach, a new quarterback, got to the conference championship game. Man, I don't think they get 9 wins either, but I think anything below that is plausible cause for somebody to lose their job, man.
I agree with you.
For real.
I agree with you on both points, and you making me think about the fact that I have never seen a player, and I'm thinking about offensive side of the ball. I'm thinking about like the development of talent in New York. Not saying I've never seen a player get developed. I'm just thinking about the what would be the pros in my head if I'm playing devil's advocate to even entertain in that situation? And I just don't think there is one. I don't think Jackson Dart can come in and shock the world, because I think when you're playing in New York, you have to be a talent, a real talent, no matter what the sport is. You have to be a talent to win in New York. And I don't know if Jackson Dart showed me anything in his entire college career. He ran from the Caleb Williams quarterback battle in USC. That was his first job. When Lincoln Riley got that job and he brought in Caleb Williams, Jackson Dart immediately left. So you ran from competition there. Then at Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, you didn't accomplish anything the entire time you were there. So now I'm thinking y'all banked on a loser. And I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback or trash or none of that, but y'all banked on a guy that doesn't win games. And I always say, if you're going to get a college quarterback and he's not coming from a competitive conference, you kind of have to make sure he's a winner. Because when Trubisky was used to losing to Miami and the University of North Carolina State, he ain't going to really care when he lose to Detroit. He ain't going to really care when he lose to Minnesota, because He having conversations in college that are identical to the conversations he's having in the NFL, which is we'll get him next year. The fuck is next year? I need a guy that's coming in here either with raw talent or I know is a proven. That's why I hated the Trey Lance situation. Trey Lance did not lose games in college. I think he might have lost maybe 2-3 games his college career, maybe 2 games. So I'm trying to figure out how Trey Lance don't get a job. And that's a whole different combo. We can talk about that at a different time. But to your point, I do agree with everything you said about the Giants. And I'll use this time to segue into
who was the last talent that you actually seen developed in with the New York Giants?
That's what I'm saying. I'm being dead ass honest with you. That's what I'm saying. Maybe Brandon Jacobs, maybe.
What year Jacobs came? 05, 06? Or was he a little bit before that?
Might have been a little bit before that. Let me see.
Because I know all the good players they didn't have, man. Like, it don't matter if it was Jacobs, Tiki Barber.
05. He came in 05.
Like Jeremy Shockey, Hakeem Nicks, Victor Cruz, like Odell. Like, I'm trying to think, like, who can really say, all right, this organization, you know what I mean? Like, I never really looked at the Giants as like that because you don't really see them produce a lot of offensive players, man.
I'm trying to find out because I'm thinking about. Yeah, I don't have one. I don't have one. On the opposite side of the ball, Eli was there for way too long. After Eli left, they never got a quarterback.
Who was their last good tight end? It probably was Jeremy Shockey, man.
Last good tight end? Nah. They had they had to have a guy. They had to have a guy. Tight end? Who was Eli throwing it to his last season? That's what I want to look up. Let me see.
I know they had Darren Waller for like 2 years.
I was thinking about Waller too, but he wasn't a Giant for real. Damn, you might be right, dog.
But I know the players they had. I mean, they won a Super Bowl with Kevin Boss, but like he wasn't.
They had Martellus Bennett for a little bit, and they had Kyle Rudolph for a little bit, and that's it.
So like 3-year rentals here and there, because I really only remember Kyle Rudolph mainly with the Vikings. So they couldn't have had New York couldn't have had him for a long time.
Yeah, I think you have to be right with that because I know Martellus played for them maybe a season after he left Dallas.
Yeah, Rudolph played with the Giants in 2021. That was his one and only season. Then he went to Tampa Bay.
Let me see, because Martellus played for Chicago, so I think he left the Giants.
And Martellus came to Green Bay for 1 year. So
yeah,
I don't know when Martellus played for the Giants.
Yeah, he played only in that 2012 season. So you're right, Jeremy Shockey, bro. That's they tight end. That's they GOAT. Jeremy Shockey. But that goes to show you too when you're in a. And I think this is something we should just have or spend maybe a second to talk about just for the viewers because it's something we talk about a lot. When we talk about markets and the NFL from a business perspective, this is how teams are able to kind of slide under the radar. We just talked about the fact that we cannot find any talent that they've homegrown in the last 20 years. But yet the New York Giants are still the New York Giants. That's how branding works. You feel what I'm saying? And them being in that market, them being in New York means they will forever be the New York Giants. It don't matter what comes out of that city, what comes out of that team. When you have a market where you have fans that are bigger than you have a market where certain populations are bigger than entire teams, like a total potential demographic. You know what I'm saying? New York is one of those cities. So it's like, yeah, they never gonna let New York slide to the wayside. But at the same time, that's a propped up team. That's a propped up franchise where you living off of the actions of what Eli was able to do to the superhero in Tom Brady. That's really what you living off of.
Absolutely, because how many years Eli played?
Shit, over a decade. He came out in what, 01 or something, right? It was the early 2000s. Let me see. Maybe I'm tripping.
Eli Manning played from 2004 to 2019.
2000.
That's 16 seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So out of those 16 years, 14 of those years he didn't even win a playoff game. He only won playoff games
When
in
he
his
beat
2
him.
Super Bowl runs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
The other 14 years just washed away. He didn't do anything. So, man, like this man only won 5% of his career.
Guess
really.
where he went to school, Chance? Guess where Eli went to school?
Well, high school or college?
College.
Was he at Texas?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Jackson
So that
Dart.
means
Ole Miss.
damn. So Peyton went to Tennessee, right?
Peyton went to Tennessee.
Yeah, I always get them switched. Okay, but yeah, that's the irony in that shit there, man.
But you see what the NFL is gonna try to do this season. That's why the Jackson Dart shit made sense for the GM to approve on, because you got an Ole Miss quarterback. The last time you drafted an Ole Miss quarterback, you went to 2 Super Bowls and won them both. So you got, even just from a narrative perspective, the NFL can run that story, and they will run that story. And when they run it, it won't be this season because we know they're gonna tank this season. It'll be when they go get their coach of their dreams next year, because they're gonna have a losing ass season this year. They're gonna get their GM, their coach, and they're gonna run that storyline into the ground. But it's all based on who the NFC is believing is their next top 3 quarterbacks. Right now, you got Matthew Stafford, Jaden Daniels, and I'm throwing in I'm throwing in Baker, because Baker went to the playoffs last year at least.
But
that's a horrible list.
Let me see. So Eli, it's the crazy part, man. Eli is a rookie. Went 11-5, finished first in his division, lost the wild cards. Second year in the league, he went 8-8, lost in the wild card.
Did he win Rookie of the Year for that first year?
I gotta imagine
11-5 as a starter, you gotta win Rookie of the Year. Who putting up a better season than that?
He had that one Rookie of the Year.
Oh, he did not win it.
Did they go to Big Ben? Or was he the year before that?
It went to
Cornell Williams? Was that Cadillac Williams?
It's
Was that
04,
did they go to him?
2004 NFL Rookie of the Year. Ben
I think it was
Roethlisberger.
Cadillac.
Went to Ben.
They came the same draft?
I guess so. Damn, that's crazy. They came the same draft for real. That's crazy. Shout out to Ben. And you know, Pittsburgh trying to do the same shit, because Ben, hold on. Let me get the stats. Oh, they gave it to Ben, I think, because Ben beat New York. He beat the Giants his second week of the season.
Okay.
So I think they had to give it to him on some, competitive edge type shit.
Big Ben that year had 2,600 passing yards, 17 TDs, 11 picks. Damn. Well, that's not even close then.
Nah, that's not close at all.
Because Eli had 6 touchdowns and 9 picks as a rookie.
Well, that draft is Eli, Phillip, Ben, Matt Schwab.
Yeah. Eli, Phillip, and Ben.
Luke McCann.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of other names we would know. Yeah, but Eli, Phillip, and Ben. That's the top 3. And that was 20
they got them.
ago.
They got them 20 they got them 3 Hall of Famers out that draft.
That one draft.
But I'm trying to find Eli rookie stats
Damn,
because
that's
I never know.
Fitzgerald and Sean Taylor's rookie year. Damn. And
Yeah,
D'Angelo Hall.
they struck gold on that draft.
Shit.
So
That's some point.
He didn't even who was the quarterback when Eli came in?
Let's look it up. 2003.
Because he didn't go 11-5 his rookie year. He went 11-5 his next year because he only started 7 games as a rookie. Yeah, I'm not
They
even sure
quarterback
who's
was Kerry Collins
Gary Collins. Let's see what that is.
in 2003.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
I mean, so technically, if we going by this, maybe Jackson don't start until like week 17.
Yeah,
Maybe
probably so,
maybe he
man.
don't come in.
Probably so. Like if Dayball is smart, like I'm saying, if Dayball is smart, man, he delay that clock as long as he can.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he can. As long as he can. If he can get through the season with this season just being a wash away, and let's say somehow he can get Russell Wilson to cover at least 11 games, that's a win for them because we both know they can't compete this year. There's too many holes on that team for them to do anything in that division this season. So if they can get it to the point to where they're competing in every game, but Russell Wilson is coming up short, and you got Jackson in the wing still learning, and I could turn the page to next year, that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
Any stretch of imagination, you got to put Jackson on that field by like week 7. Man, that's not good for D-ball because okay, your product, your choice of quarterback is going to be on the field, and these games are actually going to matter. Because to the best of our knowledge, by week 7, the season is still alive to most teams. To us as fans, we could sit there and scratch this team off the list and say, all right, they not making the playoffs, they done. But a GM, I don't think no GM is just writing a season off by like week 7, week
Mm-mm.
8.
Mm-mm. Too
You see what I'm
early.
saying? So, and I think that if that man get put in that game around that time of the year, yeah, they ball going the time gonna be moving for him
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Now let me ask you this, because you being I don't even want to say a Saints fan, but somebody that has a close relationship with the Saints.
Yeah.
What do we what are we supposed to take away from the New Orleans Saints based on what they've shown us this offseason, the last 2 years, and then this draft? What are we supposed to take away from where they at right now? Tyler Show is their quarterback 1.
I'm glad you started off by saying someone who has somewhat of connection to the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Man, at least since the pandemic, the Saints refuse to start over. I repeat, dating back to the pandemic, the Saints refuse to start over. If you have watched the Saints the last 4 off seasons, they have been in salary cap hell for 4 straight summers. They refuse to start over. You wanna know what the Saints do? The Saints, they restructure contracts. They add void years. They keep pushing money down the road. You got a player like Cam Jordan. And I like Cam Jordan. But the money that he's being paid to only win at most 5 games a year is doing you a disservice. Kamara, get him out of there. And I love AK, but he's too good to rot on the Saints. Because I feel like if you put that man somewhere that's competitive, he can have just as much an impact as McCaffrey did when you took him out of Carolina. You get what I'm saying? So get Kamara out of there, put him on a competitive roster, see what type of value you can get for Kamara. But you having Kamara there the last couple of years since Breeze has retired, it don't matter if it's been Taysom Hill, Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, it does not matter. You wasting Alvin Kamara. You're not getting no return on your investment from him. You're just paying the man top of the market money. Davenport, Trey Hendrickson, all these are players that was once Saints. They're gone now. Marshawn Lattimore, gone. Demario Davis, about to retire. I can keep going on and on. They got so many players on their team that they just need to move on from. They need to start fresh. But right now, their salary cap is all over the place, bro. All over the place. All over the place, man. All over the place. It's been that way for at least 4 years. I think that's the Saints' biggest problem because they don't want to just restart and refresh. You the Saints, you already winning 4 or 5 games. Why not do it with a complete reset? You winning 4 or 5 games with big name players on your team. What is that really doing for you? It's not doing nothing. So the Saints, I don't know what they're afraid of, but I think they're afraid to be somebody like Carolina, which is you don't have no
That's a good point.
Impact players on the field.
Yep.
You don't want to be Carolina, but you're not much more than Carolina. You know what I'm saying? How many more games are you winning than Carolina every year? It's not that much of a difference. So I think that in order for the Saints to turn anything around, they gotta start fresh, man. Because I think his name is Mickey Loomis. He been a Saints GM since like 2005, I think. He operating like he don't know what the hell he's doing right now.
Since 05?
Yeah, Mickey Loomis been around since Mickey Loomis. Yeah.
That's a GM's dream.
Let me see.
I'm gonna look up longest active NFL GMs while you doing that, just to
it's probably Mickey Loomis. No, he since 2002. Yeah, he been the GM since 2002.
Oh shit. That's over 20 years.
So right now they kind of like, if you look it up on Wikipedia, it'll say from 2002 to 2012. But the only reason why they branched it off like that is because he has a bigger role. So he's kind of like the GM and the vice president of the team, if that makes sense. So, but he still have the same responsibilities, man.
He's the longest. He's the longest pure serving GM. The only two that beat him are the Bengals and the Cowboys because both their owners act as GMs. But keep going.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's how long he been around, man. That's how long he been around. I think it's time for the Saints to hit a refresh, man.
What was your takeaway? What was your takeaway from their draft though? How did you feel about the draft? For the Saints, I'm saying.
They need to stop taking offensive linemen in the first round. They done drafted an offensive lineman like 4 of the last 5 years. And your quarterback stay on the ground on a gurney. Like, how is your quarterback?
Yeah, that shit is
man. Why is your quarterback constantly getting carted out the field with these drafted offense?
Hey, they need a new fuck fighting GM. They need a new scout. They need a new scout team or something. Scout personnel.
Dude, you drafting offensive lineman in the first round every year, and your quarterback just retired at 33.
Finished. Still. I don't know.
Man, your quarterback just retired at 33.
How much you think Chris Olave had to go or had to deal with? How much do you think the situation with Chris led to Derek Carr getting his ass out of there? I don't think this, bro. I remember when that last injury happened. And I remember his brother said, I forgot what his brother said on Twitter. It was some like threatening ass shit to Derek Carr. And now to see it.
David Carr said that to Derek?
No. Chris Olave, brother. Somebody's family member, either a former Saint or Chris Olave, after that injury, they threatened Derek Carr type shit. Not like they gonna kill him, but like he kept throwing these ambulance passes. Everybody knows it.
I heard Michael Thomas say something about it.
So maybe it was that. Maybe it was Michael Thomas. My bad. It wasn't Chris Olave, brother. Maybe it was Michael Thomas.
Yeah, because Michael Thomas, he said that he been put that in the wind, that Derek be throwing those hospital balls, but he said that when he voiced his frustration about it, it kind of came off as jealousy, or everybody try to paint Michael Thomas as like the agent player who's mad he's not getting the ball as much. And
the Dez
but
Bryant.
right. So, but when people seen that Michael Thomas on his couch and he's still making these comments and they're coming to be true, like you out there about to get a lot of your head taken off, man. Like what you throwing in the pocket. That's what made everything come to light. But it was definitely Michael Thomas the one that put that in the win.
Okay.
On the internet.
Do you think that played a role though in the decision making? I think for Derek Carr, seeing him on that one season of Hard Knocks, I think he does seem like a guy that cares about what the people in the organization think. And I think if Michael Thomas was saying it, I could see other Saints personnel, players, staff, whatever, maybe uttering some shit in the locker room. I don't know, whatever. But I don't know. That's just me. I don't have no idea what the Saints do. That's why I'm asking you. You think it played a role?
Well, when you put it like that maybe, you know what I'm saying, people are speaking out in the locker room and maybe he's hearing the rumblings. I never thought about it like that, but I could definitely see that. And the Saints are not that organization. They don't have that figure there that'll big brother everything, or they don't have no Mike Tomlin in their organization that's going to silence shit and kind of put it to rest and kind of keep everything buttoned up. The Saints are not a uniform organization like that. So I definitely think that was put in the Derek Carr ear in some type of way that, hey man, a lot of players are blaming you for throwing some bad passes that's causing injuries. So, and you in a losing environment. When you winning 4-5 games, people gonna voice their frustration. You gonna hear shit. People gonna come to work pissed off at what's going on. So, yeah, man, that's definitely believable that because Derek Carr, he just came out and said 2 weeks ago that he didn't like how people was misreporting his injury. So if they are misreporting your injury, why did you retire today? What was being misreported? What was being misrepresented?
You think he retires to come out of retirement on some Gronkowski shit?
He not made like that. He don't have that type of. Cause think about it, bro. If Andrew Luck ain't do it by now, why would Derek Carr do it?
Cause I feel like Luck stepped away when his city loved him. And I feel like if you walk away a hero, it's kind of like, but if you walk away on some like, at this point in my career, I don't know if this is it. But then week 16, you got a team that's maybe 3 games away from the playoffs. They quarterback go down. You don't think Derek Carr can come in there and be like, hey, Joe Flacco me type shit? I can see that being the situation. He's still young. He's still 33.
It's 30, right? It's 33. That's what makes the retirement so alarming. Because, man, you could have milked this and just had your year off and just said, you know what, I got my guaranteed money. But what made it so severe that you had to hang your cleats up in May? You see what I'm saying?
Maybe it's an allegation or some shit we don't know about. I don't know. Maybe it's something in the wind.
It got to be something.
Yeah,
it got to be something.
It's something for sure.
Because either that injury, because you think about it, bro, Drew Brees had a 60% chance of ever playing football ever again. He tore his shoulder off the socket and still came back and put up over 80,000 yards, man. What is so wrong with Derek Carr that we don't know to the point where this man had to retire before the age of 35?
I'm telling you, he one of those players that they not labeling it as this, but I think he's one of those head case issues. Like he always seemed like one of those quarterbacks that felt like he was better than what he was, and also always being I never saw this shit. Let me go on record and just say this. I never saw this shit in Derek Carr. I'm sorry. I know before the Saints, I know when he first got picked up by the Saints, you was telling me like, man, you know what I'm saying? I think Derek Carr might, he might be able to do some shit. I heard you. I did. But I never seen it, bro. I never seen it.
In my defense, the reason why I saw something out of him and what I did see from him was at least stability. I at least thought that if everything goes right, okay, you can at least get 10 wins out this dude. I never saw him as getting to a conference championship game, having the Saints as like at the peak of the conference consistently. I never saw out of Derek Carr. But if you watch what the quarterback play was before he got there, anything is better than Taysom Hill throwing you balls. Anything is better than the Jameis Winston days in which he was only giving you 6 games a year before he got hurt. The Saints just needed stability at the quarterback position. Keep in mind, he didn't win a playoff game. That's crazy. He never won a playoff game.
Not one time.
That's crazy, dude. So that's another thing. I'm kind of looking at it like maybe he kind of gonna run that Matt Stafford rule for him, not in terms of getting him a Super Bowl, but the same way Stafford was in Detroit for 11 years, never won a playoff game, but soon as he was able to get out of that division, soon as he was able to relocate, you know what I'm saying? He kind of had somewhat of some playoff success. I didn't think Derek Carr was getting to the Super Bowl, but I was like, if you put him in the NFC South, and at that time, the NFC South was not a good quarterback because the Falcons had Desmond Ridder as their quarterback at that time. At that time, that's when Baker Mayfield was first in Tampa Bay. Now, based on our previous episodes, I had like my faith in Baker based on, you know what I mean, what I was banking on, but the rest of the world wasn't really sold on Baker at that time. And you had Bryce Young, his first year in Carolina. So I'm like, all right, the division is at least winnable for him. You're not winning in the AFC West with Phillip Rivers, Justin Herbert, Mahomes. You stand no chance over there. But you can do something in the NFC South. That's the only thing I was banking on for Carr, man. That's the only thing. And he been looked at as kind of like you never was hyped up what you was to be. Because I remember when the 2014 draft, they was labeling him as a first round pick. He ended up falling all the way to the second round. And at that time, nobody knew why. But based on his 10-year career, you know exactly why he fell in the draft. Everything we knew, everything we knew about Derek at that time, we know now. So,
with that being said, I mean,
his brother wasn't that good either. Just to put that out.
Just to put it out, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like even in that situation, he couldn't even lay on like the family name for that to be. I mean, probably the family name damn near helped him get that second round look, just because it's like, okay, well, you familiar. I don't see too many blemishes on you as far as like what they're gonna look at in the draft evaluation.
NFL is so funny, man. The entire night that entire 2014 draft, they kept re-showing the picture of him when he was like 6 years old. The night that David Carr got drafted, Derek Carr was at the draft that night as like a little kid, 6 years old. The night Derek got drafted, they kept replaying that same video, trying to make it come full circle. I seen what the NFL was doing. They definitely tried to make the Carr last name kind of like a theme of the draft. I definitely seen them pulling that card, man.
But Vegas, man, or not Vegas, him playing for the Raiders.
Yeah.
It's just like, bro, some of these organizations, and we said this shit last time, some of these organizations just don't foster success. Like it's just not a thing that can really happen just because.
I think they need losing teams, man. I think leagues like need losing teams.
Punching bags.
I really do. I think they really need that. I think they really need that, man. I really think the league needs losing teams.
Which is why somebody got to replace Detroit. You let Detroit climb up, somebody has to come falling down. I'm saying this as a Bears fan. I'm really hoping it's not y'all. I'm be real with you. I really hope it don't end up being y'all over the next 5 years, because I really think like.
Like the Lions are like. The Lions, that's like the lowest of the low, though. Like,
no, y'all ain't going there. But I'm saying, think of it this way: Arizona used to be one of those teams where it's like they might have a top 3 pick every year. They get Kyler Murray, they get a little breathing room, they get a little space in between with the Carson Palmer years. Certain times it's like, okay, we don't got to put y'all in that position. Jacksonville has remained at the bottom of the league since their inception, so that's a staple. Then you get teams like the Browns, that's a staple. Then you get teams, in my opinion, like the Redskins that can flow in between that. They damn near can depending on what needs to be promoted that season, the Redskins can have a year where they only win 3 games. But then out of nowhere, they'll pull together a Jaden Daniels type year this season. You get what I'm saying? Nobody predicted that
But
shit.
I wanted to ask you this: why is it that they only give Washington a push
Rookie year?
in in
Oh.
election years? Think about it.
Mm.
The last time they made the playoffs was 2020. That was the year. Um, I think that was Chase Young rookie year. The edge rusher, right? That was also the election year between Trump and Biden. Then they lost in the wild card to Tampa Bay and Brady that year. Fast forward 4 years later, we in another election year. Just think about it. Even if you want to go all the way back to 2012, RG3 rookie year, that was an election year. They also made the playoffs with a rookie. Just think about it. It's very consistent with Washington. They always give these dudes a push in the election year because you got to think about it. Where's the nation capital located at? It's located in Washington, right?
You making me think, bro. What did they do 2016? I gotta look this up. Hold on. Washington.
I think they made the playoffs that year with Kirk, if I'm not mistaken. I know they didn't win a playoff game that year, but I think they did make it.
Let me see. They finished 8-7, placing third in the
87,
East, and they missed the playoffs.
missed the playoffs. Okay.
That's a good ass theory, though. Let me go back a little bit. Let me see 2008. Yeah, 2008 they went 8-8 too, and missed the playoffs. That's something to keep in mind though, because if
Because
if
that made me think, because I'm like 12, because 2024, but 12 years ago, y'all also drafted another quarterback
mm-hmm
with the number 2 pick
mm-hmm
that had a similar play style
mm-hmm
as Jaden. He got you to the playoffs as a rookie. Like it was, man, it just seemed so copy and paste, duplicated to me. I couldn't pass that up.
hmm.
I couldn't pass that up. It really made me think about that.
While we on this is the perfect time. Do you want to get into your the Patriots two-part dynasty?
Okay, so what the Patriots is, and I feel like someone who doesn't really take the time to like really think about how everything is connected in this world, this will really sound like a very, what's the word? It will sound like a reach, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you tie into what this country went through for 9/11, when we experienced what's called terrorist attacks,
Mm-hmm.
okay, on September the 11th, 2011. I mean, we all know about the 9/11. That's when, you know what I mean, the World Trade Center was destroyed by the bombings of
Mm-hmm.
the planes. Whether you think that the bombings were real, whether you think the videos were CGI, I'm not really trying to argue that
Mm-hmm.
part. I'm just talking about the
The
the,
situation.
the situation and the incident itself. Okay, what that did was that changed our country as a whole. Um, Changed the security laws, transportation laws, all that type of shit that we have to deal with at airports now. Okay, I now want to fast forward to you the very next month on October 26th. Our president at that time, George Bush, he signed an act called the Patriot Act. And what that did was for this country was like I just explained to you, it brought unity and it really strengthened our country as a whole. Once George Bush said he wanted patriotism to come back to America, no one can convince me that the NFL didn't take that shit on and decide, let's turn the New England Patriots into a dynasty for the next 18 years. That right there, man, I've done so much research under this shit. And I feel like we had internet back then to the degree that we have it now. You couldn't let this fly over, man. You couldn't let this fly over. You couldn't let this fly over. That's the first part of the Patriots dynasty, because everybody understands the Patriots had 2 runs, but we always look at it as one long dynasty for 18 years. They had 2 runs. Okay, let's fast forward to 2013 in Boston, Massachusetts. Every single year, Boston has a Boston Marathon. But on April the 15th, 2013, 2 guys planted bombs and killed 3 people and injured 260 individuals. That also was a terrorist attack on America. And who ended up winning the Super Bowl 3 of the next 6 years? I just want that to be answered. So, like I said, based on me just piecing this together, it might sound like I'm reaching, but I feel like you already hint on that a lot of things that go on in the media and go on in our country is connected with sports. It's connected with sports. And no one can convince me that these terrorist attacks didn't have didn't play a big part in the Patriots run. No one can convince me of that. Just like you can't convince me that, and this I want to say this for another episode, the Chiefs dynasty, because I feel like I can give a deeper breakdown for the Chiefs run than I can for the Patriots, because I'm not gonna sit here and ramble on for 30 minutes about these terrorist attacks and the bombings and how important a role they played in the Patriots dynasty. I'm not gonna sit here too long and try to overemphasize it and overstretch it, but I feel like it's pin concepts. All you gotta do is tie them together. But yeah, that's like a simple breakdown on how I view this. The 2 parts to this Patriots dynasty. I feel like it's very connected to what's going on. And by you sending Tom Brady to Tampa Bay, yeah, Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay, it was more connected to patriotism than what people might think. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
And just so people, because people are gonna be confused. Maybe not everybody, but people are definitely gonna be confused a little bit. What helped you? I don't want to say come to this discovery, but what helped you kind of be able to see some of the lines that drew you to this conclusion?
What helped me at least try to piece together was, first I had to look at the commissioner. Okay. The one thing that I know about Roger Goodell is the man is a visionary. And he's really like the Vince McMahon of the NFL. And I say that to say how the way the league wants to go with certain ideas. I'm not going to say that Roger is the last voice of that, because if I'm being honest, the owners control the league. Roger is like their little puppet. He's the one that, you know what I mean? He's basically like the spokesman for the league.
Yep.
But what Roger did was he came into he'd been around the NFL for at least the early 2000s, but I think his first actual season as the actual commissioner was like 2006. But behind the scenes, the entire time, he always knew who his GOAT was going to be. And it took for you to bring this to my attention that he was kind of like buddy with Vince with Vince McMahon. That's when you let me know if Vince McMahon was helping the league out with certain storylines and the writings and all that type of stuff. So I really had to peel back and I had to think, okay, how connected is this WWE shit with the NFL? Then the more I started thinking about
pick a wrestler. My bad. Go ahead.
I want so who I always compare Tom Brady to is the Undertaker. I've always said that. That's Tom Brady is Roger Goodell's Undertaker. I've always said that. I will continue to say that. Their career is so parallel, man. It's not even funny. It's not even funny, man. It's not even funny.
I gotta I'm thinking
Yeah,
about this. My bad. If you got some more to say, please say some more
cause,
before I
cause
yeah, go ahead.
no, 'cause I want to ask you, who would you really compare Tom Brady to as like that WWE comparison? I just want to hear like, cause I never really heard you. I think I heard you compare Derrick Henry before to the Undertaker, if I'm not mistaken. But
Tom
who would you
Brady,
yeah, who would you think his WWE counterpart is?
I got two picks for Tom Brady, and I've been debating it for as long as we've had
Okay.
this conversation internally. Um, I think John Cena is my obvious
Okay.
answer because with John Cena, what I see in John Cena is we got to remember, bro, when we was kids, John Cena was like the wrestler. Like we watch wrestling, we all know John Cena. I might throw out 6 wrestling names. If I'm throwing it out to somebody that doesn't watch wrestling, I'm probably starting off 1 and 2 with John Cena. If I'm having an
Right.
in-depth conversation with my boy that we just watched, John Cena is like I'm trying to he's like the Boston Red Sox. That's the best way for me to describe this. You need a guy in every American entertainment system that is meant to be the pro hero that you are meant to put your money on and hang your hat on and your pride on. You need a guy that always supports American ideas. John Cena literally was like a fake Marine. You feel what I'm saying? Like for that Iraq war era, if you're not old enough or if you didn't watch wrestling during that time, look up John Cena Iraq War. What he did for the American population of I don't want to get into the WWE demographics, so I don't want to sound a particular way, but when you look at, the main consumers of sports, but also the WWE in particular, you're looking at a very, very particular demographic that kind of leans a certain way. So what he
Okay.
was able to do for that era of, yeah, we're at war with Iraq, we're at war with Afghanistan, and we're doing this to kick some ass and yada yada yada. John Cena was the literal symbol for American strength post 9/11. I think if I had to run an ad on this chance, if I had to make a movie out of what you just said, bro, I'm putting John Cena as Tom Brady. Because to me, what other figure in sports was as American as Tom Brady and John Cena? You feel what I'm saying? And we talking about America first. We talking about the Patriot Act. What better
Yeah.
way to usher that shit in than to give you John Cena? The
I mean
Undertaker
that
is a wrestler's wrestler. Like a wrestling fan's
yeah.
wrestler, that's the Undertaker. John Cena is your I bought this shirt because it looked cool wrestler. You feel what I'm saying? Like that's the marketability. Like if I had to pick a wrestler, I kind of like John Cena. You feel what I'm saying? If I had to pick a quarterback, Tom Brady's not so bad. They are your introduction into that world. That's how I look at Tom Brady's comparison to the wrestling world.
Okay. Okay. And you said that's your first
That's my first. My I'm not really sold on it, but I've debated it. It's Hulk Hogan. And I feel like
mm,
I think of that in a way of when I think about wrestling, like when it before it became WWE, it was the World Wrestling Federation. And back
yeah.
then, that shit was like almost anything goes. Vince McMahon is like having a fucking damn near a project with the WWE, and he's letting all of that shit fly. And
Yeah.
unbeknownst to us, you would think TV would kind of reel that shit in, like, hey man, you can't have all this. He was doing anything he wanted on television. And when you
Facts.
think about it, Hulk Hogan is how do I say this without sounding Hulk Hogan is like the visual representation of I don't give a fuck. You feel what I'm saying? When it comes to what Vince was pushing, I think if Vince was a wrestler, it'd be Hulk Hogan. That's me. Just knowing what we know about his personal life. And now for Skip Bayless to come out and say that shit he said about Tom Brady in regards to the Shador Sanders situation, I don't know if you heard about it, but him kind of being at war with Tom Brady and saying, look, like you said earlier, you got all this pull with the Raiders franchise, you being a minority owner. It would make so much sense that you would be the one to pull the trigger on Shador. But it's almost like you playing a secret game behind the scenes. But on the show, you still Tom Brady. And Shador is giving him, the credit all the time that he was in college. When he was in high school, he gave him credit. He's wearing the number 12. So from Tom Brady's perspective, it's almost like, why would he not? And that's why I didn't want to agree with you in the beginning. I'm going to be real with you. I didn't want to agree with you because I felt like Tom Brady maybe didn't want to put too much voicing this early into his ownership situation. Maybe that's why Shador didn't get picked. But I have to agree with you, bro. Like, if anybody could have done it, it was Tom. No GM is going to question what Tom is saying. Nobody's going to say, damn, you know what? I'm not going to listen to you. You know what I'm saying? So for him to not do that, that's where I get the Hulk Hogan I can kind of see that parallel now because I'm like, that's some shit Hulk Hogan would get in trouble for 15 years after he's retired or 10 years after he retires. And we've seen Hulk get into those same situations among those racial kind of lines where he's been in that fence of like, what are you really saying about us? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Tom Brady is either Hulk Hogan or he's John Cena on his best and worst day.
Okay. Now, I could see a lot of the parallels and how it makes sense. Mainly off the field.
Yep,
I can definitely see. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even branch out, didn't even think about it to the level that you was illustrating. I kind of just mainly kept it, okay, how do their makeup and their characters relate to one another in their professions? Okay. Obviously, Undertaker, he's known as Mr. WrestleMania. He's known as the King of WrestleMania. He had the longest streak. He was undefeated for the longest at WrestleMania. All that other shit. Tom Brady, even though he wasn't undefeated in the Super Bowl, he was obviously known for having the most titles. You can make an argument that he was Mr. Super Bowl, even though that's not what we see. Undertaker, the one thing we know about Taker was he's the dead man. Every time you think you got him killed and he out and he ain't coming back, what Undertaker do? He come back last second and scare your ass for one last scare. Tom Brady, whenever you think you got him down and out, they always found a way for Brady to come back.
Literally.
Always.
Literally.
Always. He's never dead.
And he beat Deflate Gate.
So that's, man, I always kept that connection with Tom Brady and Undertaker, man. It's like you can't never count them out. They never did. They always come back to scare your ass last minute.
I really feel like you slipping on the Mahomes connection though, bro. I feel like Mahomes is Undertaker though, for real. And I feel like you don't want to say it, but I feel like that's the real Undertaker is Mahomes.
Man, Mahomes didn't pull some shit out of his ass. I ain't gonna lie. He got some comebacks.
So you can't never count him out, am I right?
You can't count Mahomes out either, but it's just something about saying Brady do this shit for 20 years, dude. Like, we seen the weirdest shit out this dude. Mahomes done had his 6-year, 7-year run of getting away with some shit, but I think it's a lot of recency bias. They let Brady get away with some annoying ass shit in front of our eyes, bro. For real, bro. Like, I can't, man. I'm not gonna say that Mahomes can't overtake that role because man, he's still in his 20s. He still got a whole career to play. But I'm not gonna take these 6 years of Mahomes come back and say they overtake 20 years of Brady coming back and doing the weird shit that he did. I'm not there yet, at least. Bro, I seen Brady do this shit for 20 years, man.
Let me ask you this then.
28-3.
I know. But see, the average fan thinks that 28-3 shit is like some they think that shit is like some character arc shit. Like, look at what he did when he did that. They not understanding the psyche of the league is to show you like That Patriot Act shit is why. Okay, let me say this to the viewers. You might have heard Chance talk about the Patriot Act, and you might be thinking like, nah, these guys are kind of. I agree with some of the things they saying, but they might be diving off the deep end. You gotta understand, do the research on what he just said. It makes so much sense that the NFL, I mean, the National Football League, would think it's a good investment to put itself along the lines of what the U.S. government is promoting. I need people to start thinking about the NFL as a business first. Then think about it as your entertainment source.
The
Then think
most
about it.
watched product, the most watched product on TV in America,
The
man.
only thing bigger on TV, period, is the World Cup. That's the only thing bigger than the
Thanks.
Super Bowl. So for 4
Thanks.
years or for 3 years, the Super Bowl gets to reign supreme. Every year, as the most watched thing people put on, people have Super Bowl parties. Grocery stores make their market days during the Super Bowl weekend. So y'all gotta understand, it's bigger than like, oh, I played football when I was younger. I know what it's
Yeah.
like. That shit don't
Thanks.
matter to the
It don't.
NFL. It don't matter. What matters is the dollar sign that they are able to bring in and keep their market share above the MLB, above. Because remember, the NFL had to dethrone the MLB. In the original sense of shit, the MLB was running shit. The NBA came in and said, okay, we got a little market share too. The NFL had to eat itself 3 times or twice before it formed the NFL into becoming football as the dominant sport in America. Now think about this for the viewer listening that has no idea what we're talking about. I get it. How do you become the most known sport, not even sport, the most known entertainment brand in the country? And now you're struck with the idea of how do we spread the sport? The NFL is now focused. Roger Goodell's last assignment as commissioner will be to bring the NFL abroad. I promise you that. The last thing that man does is going to bring an NFL team to somewhere outside of America. That's going to end his storyline, and it's going to bring usher a new time into the NFL where they can finally compete against the NBA internationally. Because the NFL only has domestic rule. So y'all got to start realizing the reason we're harping on NFL shit so heavily is because Roger Goodell has played a role of being the puppet master, or I'm sorry, being the face of the puppet masters. And in that way, he's kept the brand in line. Remember, Colin Kaepernick doesn't leave the NFL because he's a bad quarterback. He leaves because he's drawing too much attention away from the sport. Cam Newton doesn't leave the NFL because he's a trash quarterback. He leaves because he's drawing too much attention away from the sport. The owners do not support that. So when you have a player, no matter who he looks like, Antonio Brown, too much attention away from the sport. Des Bryant was on live sports interviews as one of our most recent NFL examples of a player being a whistleblower is Des Bryant. And he did that as an NFL player. So he had to go. You get what I'm saying? You kind of see, you could be a Larry Fitzgerald. They'll let you play your whole career in Arizona. Why? Because you played by the rules. You did everything you were supposed to do your entire time in NFL. It was never bigger than Arizona. It was never bigger than NFL. Anytime a player thinks they ego tropes the NFL, they have to leave. The WWE is used as this case example for us because the WWE has never had a wrestler grow bigger than wrestling. That has never happened, period. That means that the WWE's brand is something that the NBA, the NFL, and the MLB have to model themselves after. Because why? Because Vince McMahon never lost control. He never had a wrestler go off script. Vince McMahon never had a situation with a wrestler affecting the pockets of the WWE. It's never happened. Even when he had his wrestlers die on camera, they never affected his money. So if you're a listener and you're not peeping what's happening, just do the research on what he's saying and then go back and say, okay, I don't really get what you're saying. You know, and we can clarify that later. But I don't want people thinking that we just making shit up. This is not made up. Trust me.
Facts. And to add more juice to that Colin Kaepernick situation, man, he was not kicked out of the league based on his talents. If any is the information is public, you can see that in 2015, which is when the protesting and the kneeling and all that stuff occurred, the NFL suffered a 8% drop in the viewership that season.
They boycotted.
8%.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, that's what he's saying is serious. Like, if you're a business and you seeing an 8% drop in your viewership, you're not playing about that. And what did we see? What did the NFL do right after they got the 8% drop? They kicked his ass out the league, gave him his settlement money, but then we started to see them start to fill in more games throughout the year. That's why we have every week Thursday night games now. That's why we have Monday night games every single week now.
Literally.
Not only are they recouping that money, they're doubling it. They're always looking on to how can we triple our investment. So this is deeper than just us watching sports, man. It's entertainment. It's all about the power of the dollar at the end of the day. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
I got a personal question to ask you, but I'm gonna save this after you finish. But go ahead.
No, that I was wrapping up everything.
I have to have your opinion on this, bro. I really need to know. You gotta tell me from what you seeing just in this playoff shit for the NBA. What is, and I'm taking your word on some like I can't see it, so see it for me. What is LeBron's immediate situation?
In terms of what? Because I'll tell you how it's gonna look for LeBron going forward.
In terms of where Steph Curry is right now. So not in general, not like what you think. Yeah, go ahead.
This what I would say. And I tell people this all the time, man. They finally starting to listen to me. And it started to make sense to them once the Lakers lost. I told mainly LeBron fans, man, mainly Lakers fans, okay? Because for the most part, everybody thought the league was going to give us Warriors versus Lakers in the second round. I kept telling people that's not going to happen because what is the point of them giving us LeBron versus Curry this late in their careers again, but in the second round of the playoffs? If you do get LeBron and Curry, wouldn't you want them to meet in the Western Conference Finals?
Yep.
That way the winner gets to get the finals appearance. But what good is that you met these dudes meet up in the second round? That doesn't make any sense. I couldn't think of a reason why that would make sense. And what happened? LeBron ended up laying down in the first round. Now you got Curry in the second round. He's about to lay down too. They're losing to Minnesota. I'm not even gonna say I'm willing to put money on it because I know I'm going to bet on it. They're not beating Minnesota with Stephen Curry not coming back to Game 6. They can't survive that long without Curry. So I think Minnesota gonna get them wrapped up in about 5 games. I don't see this series lasting longer. But to stay on topic, I feel like there is no chance for Curry to get his 5th ring. Because if Curry gets 5 rings, that washes away all that shit you've been hearing from LeBron. That washes away all of that. All of it. Because how can we sit here and call, because I don't think LeBron is the GOAT. I've always said it's Jordan. But how can we sit here and call LeBron the GOAT when a nigga in your era won 5 rings on your watch? You got 5 more. He got 5 rings to your 4. How can we say you are the greatest player that ever lived, but it's a player that won 5 rings in the same era as you? Think about it. Just think about it. Like, make that make sense.
It's a business decision.
So, you think the league will give us that? Because if Curry get 5,
that would never happen.
Right. So, I don't think the league want to do that because that's going to tear down everything that they built for LeBron. It's going to be so hard to convince people that Curry is not better than him or Curry. I don't know how to put it, man, but we will have some uncomfortable conversations if Curry somehow got the 5 and LeBron stayed at 4. We will have some it will be some uncomfortable conversations for real, because if he get 5, people gonna start saying, oh man, we keeping it real, Kobe not even better than Curry. Like, it's gonna be some uncomfortable conversations if that man got the 5 rings, bro. I'm just keeping it real with you. Man. And I don't think the NBA wanna fuck the history up that bad. So I think it's a reason why LeBron is gonna stay at 4 and Curry and the Warriors dynasty is also going to stay at 4 because what you got to realize is that the Warriors to LeBron is what the Spurs were to Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Kobe walked away with 5 and the Spurs walked away with their 5. You see what I'm saying? It's parallel. They're going to let LeBron stay at 4. This is the same reason why I know LeBron's not going to get 5 because you have a lot of Kobe fans out there that regardless of how many points LeBron get, LeBron's still at 4 rings. You got a lot of Kobe fans out there that don't want to hear that shit. You can't go to LA and convince a lot of Kobe fans that LeBron is better with 4 rings.
Mm-mm.
I'm just keeping it real with you. But if he gets 5 and you add on his MVPs, and you add on his all-time scoring records, there's not really much you can bank on for Kobe. I think they want to keep that argument for Kobe by keeping LeBron at 4. All this shit is connected. You can't walk into a lot of barbershops and just hear and talk to a Kobe fan and think they about to just hear you say LeBron is greater than Kobe. It's not that easy, man. But you letting LeBron break the all-time scoring record,
Shit.
you letting LeBron break all the playoff record, that's basically his 5th ring if you think about it.
Yeah.
So that's it has to stay like that.
Because it keeps his name alive too. So no matter whatever happens, you gotta mention LeBron is the record holder for this. LeBron is the record holder for that.
Right. That's his 5th ring.
Yeah.
That's his 5th ring right there.
So when you think the retirement ceremony happens? Or what would the NBA need to see for them to say, okay, LeBron, we appreciate it?
That's the silver question right there. That's the one that even I don't really have a pulse on. I really don't know because I'm watching him play and I'm like, okay, what is they really trying to show us? Because okay, you let Ant-Man beat him in the playoffs, so I could kind of see the argument you making for Ant because he beat KD in the first round last year. So they kind of painting Ant-Man as like
the Giants,
like the legend, the legend killer. So I could see the storyline you running for Ant. But what about the previous year? LeBron lost to Denver. Then the year before that, he lost to Denver again. Then the year before that, he missed the playoffs. Then the year before that, he lost in the first round to Devin Booker in Phoenix. So I'm like, all right, y'all got this man piling on a lot of losses. Y'all got this man doing stuff that he never did in his career. LeBron ain't losing the first round until he got to the Lakers. I just want you to realize that. LeBron didn't get swept outside of the finals until he got to Denver. Until he got to the Lakers. They started to like close a lot of loose ends on LeBron once he got to the Lakers, if you really piece it together. So a part of me is saying, even though I don't think LeBron body could hold up for it, I'm like, are they setting the stage for him to get his last son in the league? For I think is the better son anyway. I think Bryce James is the better son than Bronny. So I don't know. I'm like, is that what the league is trying to hold out for?
You stole that shit right out my head, bro. I was like, are they waiting for Bryce? Are they waiting for his other son? And then they say, okay.
Because they kind of compare LeBron to Brady a lot. And the one thing Brady is known for is breaking the mold, right? Having tremendous health. You know what I'm saying? It's longevity. Taking pay cuts. But that's the key for LeBron. That's what LeBron is not doing. LeBron is 40 years old making 50 mil. You know what I'm saying? That's where he kind of got away from the Brady comparison because I felt like what LeBron should have been doing was he should have been on his Tim Duncan shit, which is leaving a little money on the table and making sure you have pieces around you. LeBron want to get paid top 3 money while still being like probably the 5th, maybe 6th best player in the league. And that's not going to work. That's not going to work. It's not going to work, man.
So you don't think Lakers cut ties before LeBron says I'm ready? You don't think that's a possibility?
I think LeBron got a rude awakening. If we are believing what he's saying, okay? So let me just break it down to you, okay? So according to LeBron and his camp and his fans, LeBron knew absolutely nothing about the Anthony Davis trade, right? That's what they leading us to believe. They saying LeBron was blinded by the decision. He had no involvement with it. That's what they want us to believe, right? So if that is true, and we ought to believe that sentiment, that would mean that was a front office move for them to move Anthony Davis out the way and bring in their guy of the future, which is Luka. What they're basically saying is, LeBron, you on the clock. You wanted Anthony Davis here. We moved your guy out and when it got us who we wanted here. You 40. You got to think about that. So if that's true, what they're doing is they're already planting the seeds to kind of get his ass up out of there. They're already speeding the clock up on LeBron because they didn't bring in Luka. Because if you bring in Luka, you need a lot of pieces. You need more shooters. You need more defenders because Luka is not going to defend. You need big men because Luka loves throwing lobs to the big man. That's like a 2-year rebuild. LeBron at 40, he don't have time for that. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like with LeBron being who he is, think about it like this, man. This is a long shot. This is a long shot, right? But I thought about it. Let's say that the Lakers they push LeBron and they say, you know what, LeBron, look, we want to go in a different direction. You know what I mean? Like, you've been here for 7, 8 years. We got one championship out this shit, but we feel like you kind of holding us hostage. We feel like we need a reset, right? What if LeBron say, fuck it, man, I got one more year of this shit. I want to go home. I want to go back to Cleveland. When Cleveland is competitive and they're relevant again, right? Ain't they the number one seed in the East? Imagine if that man, and I'm not saying this will happen over the summer, he'll go back to Cleveland, but if the storyline plays out right, I could see that man going back home and that's where he hang it up at, in Cleveland. I could definitely see that. But I don't think it's going to go how LeBron wanted to go with him retiring to LA. Because this is the one place where LeBron could go at where he is not going to get all the credit. Because if LeBron won another ring, you're not winning Finals MVP. All attention is not going to you. I think those days are behind you. LeBron is not winning you a championship as the number one option. I don't think he's winning you a championship as the number 2. I think he has to be the number 3. That's just me personally. I think LeBron is done winning championships as the first or second option.
I'm glad you put this shit on record. So just in case, because I mean, you definitely made a couple of I don't want to say bold predictions because I feel like in this sense nothing's really a bold prediction.
Yeah, because LeBron, one thing LeBron has a pulse on this league. He see how all the moves are falling. He see how all the chips and dominoes are falling. Like I always tell you, no superstar is just great because they're great. The league builds superstars. Point blank, period. Just like me and you know. The league has a choice. They can send your ass to somewhere that's a losing franchise, or they can place you somewhere perfectly that's a winning franchise. They can do this. They can play this game with you. The league made it abundantly clear that Kobe Bryant, you're done. Because why you think David Stern vetoed the Chris Paul trade to the Lakers back in 2011? Think about how Kobe's career would have ended if he had Chris Paul with him.
And Chris would
have. But the league said, you see what I'm saying? But they didn't want Kobe to get to number 6. They didn't want that. They wanted this to be LeBron era. That's why LeBron controlled everything since after 2011. This was LeBron era. Think about it. He melted down versus Dallas. After that, LeBron went on one of the greatest runs we ever seen after that. Just think about it, man. He went to Miami for 4 years. Why is it that those 4 years he was gone, the Cleveland Cavaliers got the first round pick, the first overall pick in the draft 3 of the 4 years he was gone? The odds of that happening is so slim. You mean to tell me they got the first pick in the draft 3 of the 4 years he was gone? How you think they got Kyrie? Why you think that once he went back to Cleveland, they had all these pieces and they was able to put together a trade to go get Kevin Love? Come on, man.
That shit makes a lot of sense. And ever since the first time you said that shit, I was like, damn, that shit make a lot of sense. It's not
Then
even,
his
it's not
first
even
year,
shit I can argue, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't argue that.
then when his first year there, a couple of months into the season, the league say, let's take J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert out of New York and let's give him to LeBron. Like, come on, man. Come on, man.
So given that your early predictions was that OKC and Cleveland probably not gonna make the finals, you still feel like neither one of those teams make the finals based on where they at right now? Because I believe they both still alive, and you can correct me
Man,
if I'm wrong.
it's tough because I watched that OKC game last night. It went to overtime, and they down 2-1 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you was a betting man, you probably would put your money on Denver because it's 3 games out of 7, so it's 4 games left at the most. So if you a betting man, so that means that if they down 2-1 and there's 4 games left, that means that OKC has to win 3 of their next 4 games just to win this series. If you a betting man, are you really gonna put your money down on that? Because that's
Can't take
hard
that
to
bet.
really envision.
Nah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's looking like Denver may take it, and Boston and Cleveland both went down 0-2 in their series, but they both got them a win in game 3. So
And you know they're gonna milk this Knicks series. Anytime the Knicks get to the playoffs, they gotta milk it. That's the market. It's too big.
Got to, man.
And keep in mind, we just had that convo, top of the episode. Their viewership ratings for the finals have been decreasing every year. So how can they make this one interesting?
Facts. Because they gotta find, and this is why I knew LeBron can't get another ring. You can't put LeBron back on that final stage because you're not moving away from him. You have going forward, you have to keep LeBron as far away from the finals as possible because all we pretty much know is LeBron. He bring ratings in. You know what I mean? You let this man go to 8 straight finals. That sounds good in theory, but long term, it hurt them because they didn't really know how to pivot away from LeBron. And to this day, that's why the ratings are plummeting so badly. So, and the finals matchup last year wasn't so good either. You had Dallas versus Boston, and Boston wiped the floor with them dudes. So I don't even like the possible matchups this year, man. I don't, and mainly because I don't like the storylines that's established. Shea Gilders could get his first ring. Tatum could get number 2. Jokic could get number 2, or Ant-Man could get his first. Because I don't see Knicks or Pacers having any chance at winning, or Cleveland. I don't think they're gonna let Cleveland win a championship this year. It just wouldn't look right. LeBron getting bounced in the first round and Cleveland winning a championship. That's even sound right? So I can't see the league doing something like that, man.
And they give out the MVP before the finals, right? Before the final come out.
It used to be the first round, but they just been changing it up. Let me see. They haven't announced it yet, but it's all but certain Shea Gilders is going to get the MVP.
So don't that mean OKC can't win it? If he get it, that means OKC gotta get eliminated. So
that's
right.
That's what that's the concept that I already had stored mentally. Like, okay, if he's the prohibitive favorite to get this MVP, then he can't make it. Only way he wins a championship and the MVP is if this dude turn into something that we don't see. Because over the last 25 years, it's only been 5 athletes that have got the ring and the MVP in the same year. In basketball and football, that's Mahomes did it, LeBron did it, Stephen Curry did it, Tim Duncan did it, and Shaquille O'Neal. Those are the only 5 athletes in the last 25 years that have won a regular season MVP and a ring in the same year. Other than that, it's always one or the other. So unless he about to be put in the same category as one of those 5 players, which I don't see, because I don't see him as a Shaq or a Tim Duncan or LeBron or Curry or Mahomes. I don't see Shea Gilders having
That
that
type
type
of
of I don't see that. I don't see him having that type of elevation in his career. You know what I mean? I think he's gonna be a dominant player. He's gonna be good throughout his career. But Shaq, no. Tim Duncan, LeBron, Mahomes, no, sir. You're not getting put in that type of category.
shit. Currently we're at 219, so I feel like this is a good place for me to stop it at, just because last time I was trying to edit 4 hours. That shit was something. But yeah, I want to say I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate you definitely coming in to
So, man.
especially the Patriots part. I really need everybody to lock in on this shit, man. If we can lock in on the idea that sports are meant to sell, and the way they sell it is through repetition, through storylines, through leading you to see one thing while they pull this on the other side. If you can start thinking of sports that way, it'll make so much more sense. But I'm not gonna lie, it'll also be more confusing at some of the dead ends you reach. You know what I'm saying? And I think now is the best time more than ever, with as much money as people are willing to put on the line for player props, for betting on the over and the unders on teams. We got to start realizing y'all are not betting money on reality, okay? Not saying this is fake, but you're betting money on outcomes, not on what a player should do, what a player will do. You feel what I'm saying? So I really think, I can't say, and this might sound biased, but I can't think of another platform that might be speaking on shit like this so freely. Obviously, we have nothing to lose. So it's like, we coming out here with our own opinion, formulated, and trying to educate as many as we can and still learn on our own. But go ahead.
You want to know my opinion on that, man? And I watch so many podcasts. Like I want to say, in my free time, I don't consume as much music, so now I consume like other things like podcasting and stuff like that. And what disappoints me is that people only think that sports is fixed when it doesn't go their way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at that point in my life, I don't care how much money I went from betting. I don't care if my favorite team wins a Super Bowl, regardless of regardless the outcome of the match or the event. I know the winner is determined before the contest occurs. I know that, and I mean that from the bottom of my soul. The outcome of the game is not determined on the field. I want people to understand that. It's a fucked up reality, but man, we're watching entertainment. The outcome of the game is not determined on the field. I don't know why I have to keep saying it, but to tie all that in, you only see people really say stuff like, okay, this game was fixed, or the referees helped them. That only happens when the game don't go like, all right, so let me give you an obvious example, right? All of us, we all were tired of the Chiefs, right? We always saying the same shit. If you weren't a Chiefs fan, you had a feeling that the league was siding with the Chiefs. It was so obvious throughout the NFL season, right? Everybody and their mother was having that feeling. Everybody and their mother was saying that. But what bothers me is once the Chiefs lost to the Eagles, people thought, oh, everything is fair now. Oh, it ain't rigged no more. I'm like, dude, like, yeah, that is what's bothering me. Is that even when the team that gets away with so much shit that obviously the league favors, even when they finally lose, everybody think, all right, football's back to 100%. It's back to being 100% real. All right, y'all, we ain't got nothing to work. Like, no. If only you knew that Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl was the most bet on Super Bowl in NFL history. If you knew that, you understand why the score was so lopsided the way it was. You know what I'm saying? Taking the money. And if you're not a real bettor, you won't really understand how Vegas juiced the pig. So let me explain this. After a while of betting, you're going to catch on to a trend. Whenever it's a big match or a big game that's about to happen, the day before, Vegas is going to juice the pig. Juicing the pig means That's when they let the public eat. So if the Super Bowl comes on a Sunday, right? I promise you, that Friday, that Saturday before the Super Bowl, they're gonna let the public eat. Always it happens because everybody gonna be like, oh shit, man, I'm up a couple of $100 on Friday. Look, I'm up a couple of $100 on Saturday. Everybody gonna throw down for the
Give it
Super Bowl.
right back. Get that shit
Give it right
back.
back. That's what juicing a pig is. They let the public eat, they fill everybody's pockets up, and they take that shit back two times over on Super Bowl day. Man, this shit is
Hey, this shit too much
bro.
free game, bro. I'm sorry, I ain't gonna lie to you.
It's too much free game. It's too much free game.
Because it's like at the same time, it's like people like where even you getting to these conclusions took you years. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I really feel like where we at right now with just the way we operate in the platform, I feel like it's enough for where it's like we still giving you this realistic, hey, what can so-and-so do? Hey, what can so-and-so do against so-and-so? But it's also like, don't forget, this shit is really like, this is the puppet master moving his hand. Like that shit is really what this is. There's a reason you need a commissioner of a league. Everybody needs to realize that. College football doesn't have a commissioner. You get what I'm saying? All professional leagues have a commissioner. That's called a game master. Somebody that controls the rules of the game you're watching. They call it a commissioner to make you think it's like the fucking police chief or police commissioner. No, Roger Goodell has to take the fall and he has to carry the success of the league. Adam Silver has to take the fall and carry the success of the league. The individual owners and each of the brands, they dictate how powerful the Yankees brand needs to be by 2036. How powerful the Yankees brand needs to be by the time they face the Red Sox again. Because sales, just like any other time in the year, spike at certain times. So it's like for your leagues, just think about when do people care about football the most? The first NFL Sunday, the first playoff game, and Super Bowl Sunday. You got to start thinking about this shit in terms of like, when do you study for a test? Do you study for every test in school, or do you study for your midterm, your final exam, and maybe those first couple of tests where you're trying to get your grade point average up to cushion the rest of the scores? It's the same way in the league. One last nugget I can give is top of the year. If you never touch the NFL, those first 3 weeks, that shit is free game. That first 3 weeks of the NFL season, maybe first 4, that shit is free game. Like you might even see what's the Dolphins running back? I forgot his name. You might even see a Mostert or Alexander Madison. Them niggas start hitting crazy runs that first 6 weeks. By the time that week 7 come, they're banking on you remembering that name. Oh, I remember when he used to get 100 yards a game. That he's not getting that shit no more. Why? Because they're starting the storyline. The storyline got to come in more than the player performance. So the first 3 weeks is like a trial run. Who prepared the best over the summer? Who showed up to minicamp? Who showed up to the mandatory OTAs? Who showed up when the shit was really popping in the offseason for you to prepare for this season? That's when they crown a winner. Those first 4 weeks, I guarantee the NFL looks at those first 4 weeks and they say, I got my favorite. And the owners and the GMs, whoever you think is behind the scenes, it's already decided. What happens between that time is when you start getting those games where why did so-and-so lose to what's the name in week 6, but they finished 14-2. That was the storyline. That's how that shit hit you. Like it hit you after the season because you saw it now. Now it's in hindsight. Go back and look at last year's games. Go back and look at who was slated to win before week 13 and who won on week 13. Who was slated to win week 17 or 16 and who did. All of this shit is damn near pushing you. After the trade deadline, it's called playoff contention / home field advantage time. They got to start setting who's going to be at home after week 8. That's why we say trade deadline, because the NFL is saying after week 8, this shit is set in stone. It's set in stone. Detroit damn near couldn't do nothing to change their fruition from happening, bruh. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, them having that season was their Super Bowl. Y'all don't get that shit. They not giving them the best season of their year and ending it with, of their career and ending it with a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. Vegas would lose too much money. It makes too much sense. But yeah, bro. If there's any point to end it on that, I feel like that's just where we got to end this. 2 hours, 30 minutes at this point.
All I'm gonna say is shit. Next episode, man. I'm not even gonna say next episode, but like at least like about June, July. Yeah, man. That's really when I feel like the betting side of this shit, I will really start to open people's eyes at how connected this shit is, man.
Mm.
And yeah, that's that. I'm just because I try to throw everybody a bone with the little how Vegas pulled the BS with the juice and the pig thing, how they let the public eat right before they take it all back. And yeah, I got a lot more gems I could drop, but I'm gonna save it for now.
Say less, man. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video now.